Thank you very much for that. So one of the things I learned early also in life, Eddie, it's going overboard. Like I said, you know, I'm a servant, okay? I said I'm a Christian. I am here to serve the Most High, okay? But also in the context of the day-to-day, I will tell you that, you know, for everyone that interfaces with the ultimate group or wherever in the marketplace, you must know that for me, it's getting my hands dirty, okay? I am about to fold my sleeves here on the show because that's what it is for me, okay?
Yes.
We must be ready to do the work, you know, all hands on deck and deliver, okay? The mission and the promise, okay?
Yeah.
So, but over and above it all, one thing I learned early in life also, Eddie, is the element of giving value, okay? As a leader, given our positions, Eddie, we must be able to add as much value, okay? I see so many people come with the mindset of taking, okay?
Yes.
And unfortunately, that also creates barriers, you know, because no one has it all to give, if you know what I mean, okay?
Yeah.
As a leader, I do challenge you. It's something I would like to talk about later. You gotta be thinking about value addition, okay?
Yeah.
As a leader, how do you give value? What do you have to give, okay? And I want to challenge you again. Every one of you has something to give, okay? No hand is too rich to receive and none too poor to give.
Wow.
So that's how I perceive a leadership, Eddie.
Wow. And on that question of leadership, I want to just, take you to what is your understanding of leadership from the society where you, from first of all, from a personal level,
Yes.
from the family, from the society, from the corporation level
Yes.
where you sit now, and
Yeah.
from the national level. A lot of us
Fantastic.
don't get this quite very well. What's your understanding of that?
No, thank you very much. I'll start with the personal level, okay?
Yes.
I can't articulate it better than really the opportunity to serve, okay? Now, however, of course, as we go to serve, we must be willing to change, okay? We must be willing to conform, okay? I also like to say that we're all on a journey. None of us has arrived, okay? Eddie hosts me today. He's a leader that I admire and look up to. But he's also on a journey, okay?
Yes.
I see you every day, Eddie, you know, posting about self-development and growth. And I see you talk to other seniors and peers that you're constantly learning from. So there is a formula I have around, and it's the spirit of awakening, okay?
Yeah.
I like to challenge all you leaders out there, okay? From a personal level, if you want to see something different in your life, Eddie, to everyone out there listening in, you must be very intentional about the change you want to see, okay? Change only begins with you, okay? There is no way we're going to change our nation, our continent, and the world if you're not starting with ourselves, okay? Absolutely. So it's inward out, okay? So go in, work on your character. Character is within, and then personality and everything comes out later. One of my favorite metaphors and one of the tools I like to basically speak to people around that, Eddie, is so many people, especially as stuck as we might be, you know, I know that everyone is at a different place, okay? All you people listening in, we are all at different places, okay? This morning, everyone woke up with their own energy, okay? Some of you might be watching us live, you know? You know, under your beds, that's fine. Some might be somewhere, you know, your work desk streaming in live, and some maybe are stuck in traffic or whatever, okay? Now, the most overlapping thing I hear is, where do I start from, okay? And Eddie, I have been constantly thinking about how to challenge you to think about self-development, okay? Starting now on, and this is actually why I put it, Eddie, okay? And I know that so many of us are going to resonate, okay? For those who speaking from, you know, religious background, okay? There's been a moment where we've given our lives to God, okay? To Christ, okay? And to Allah, all of the respective fraternities, okay? There dawns a spirit, a fever, a feel on you that you are tired of the past, okay? And you want to see something new, okay? I hope you all can relate, okay? Something occurs to you as I am done with the past I want a new future, okay? Present and future, okay? Now, I challenge you to think about all the things you want to do better, okay? At a personal level, start with that. It could be, you know, it could be snoozing your alarm, you know. Some of us struggle to wake up, you know. I'm a 4 a.m. riser, okay? I'm actually challenging myself to put it to 3 a.m. Eddie, I also know you're a very early riser, okay? Yes. And there's nothing that beats that, okay? This is not the rationale. This is not the end of life. Yes. But I'm just using this as an example. So that would
be your self-leadership motivation.
So, you know, be intentional. Yeah. You got to be intentional. You mean it
if you want to achieve something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, Eddie, I see you doing all these, you know, tremendous, energizing lifts in the gym, you know, and I can tell you, you gotta build the right momentum, build the right energy and attitude, and go in.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we flip that to the organization. Okay. Yeah. Now, from an organizational standpoint, I truly believe that leadership is at the center of it all, okay?
Yes, yes.
There could be company culture, there could be your vision overall as an organization, there could be other factors that play in, such as environmental, there are things you have control over and not, but really what's at the center of everything is the leadership, okay? So organizational level, I put it to leadership, okay? And one thing I've learned at work, you know, organizational leadership, Eddie, is that everything is on me as a leader. If I walk into that boardroom and it's dirty, it's not the cleaner, it's me.
Because the cleaner probably have seen from you that you are not clean, so, and there's no drive to them to do something.
Absolutely, you know. If it is fraud recently, and of course if you run an organization, any what, you know, big size organization, you know, things like fraud transcend, okay? And I was chatting one of my team leads and telling them, look, whereas we might be confronted by this challenge, first of all, I see it as an opportunity for us to grow, but also it's on us, leadership, because if you build the right systems, the right processes, it's on you to build the right teams, you know, that are not tempted by, you know, little petty things, people that should buy into the vision. So that's still a leadership problem. So leadership is at the center of organizational leadership change, but also I encourage every other leader to learn, you know, let's learn to own up, okay, to the things that confront us day in, day out. And finally, Eddie, the national level, really, it is, again, you know, if you want to be the city where pedestrians are respected, cyclists are respected, where there's order, where corruption is not a thing, it really starts with you as well, okay? And we cannot be pointing those fingers at the Most High. To be honest, if every one of us went in, do that work, I think the change is obvious.
Wow. Well, you're listening to Justus Kojaks, the founder and you know, Chief Executive Director of Ultimate Group of Companies in Uganda. If you're watching up from anywhere across the world, we want to say welcome to the CEO Bench. If you're catching for the first time, you're going to share this link far and wide to your friends. Justus, just before we take our next break, I just want to ask you one more question before we move from the leadership point of view. How does one actually begin to pick themselves up? How do I get out of the comfort zone of my life? A lot of young people who want to make it in life are always whining and, you know, and crying and saying so many things. And it goes back to nobody's giving me opportunity, nobody give me a chance to do something. But here you are sitting and telling us what you have done to get through your life. Would you like to share on that personal leadership and self-leadership what I need to do? 3 things that I must do now that will take me to the next level, that I can get up and also be like you tomorrow. As a leader.
Thank you, Eddie, for the opportunity. If you're listening out there, this is my encouragement to you, okay? First principles, okay? Eddie, every one of us gotta know that purpose, okay? If you can't articulate why you woke up this morning, my favorite thing to say is go back and sleep, figure that out, come back, okay? Because else you're going to be of more harm than good. Eddie, let's think about it, right? If you have no reason to wake up, go back and sleep. You have a reason, get up, okay? So the number one thing, everything that I do revolves around purpose. Eddie, if we're going to Jinja and here we are going to Mbarara, how much longer is it going to take us? Whereas if our coordinate is Ginger, we hit it, Ginger Road. Simple, right?
Yeah.
So number one, know your purpose. Have some tools to actually plug in if you'd like to. Please reach out. I am happy to work with you, okay?
Yeah.
This is what I live for, and I would like to, you know, support you grow at purpose. The second thing is, once you know your purpose, okay, know the things you're good at, okay? Because that is your value to give, okay? Eddie hosts us today, and actually most of you can't see the amazing young men behind, the team behind the show, the people working, you know, they are talented at what they do, and that is how we are here, okay? In other words, that is their value to give, okay? That's the value you bring, okay? I have a formula around keeping yourself relevant, Eddie, okay? You gave me value today. You say, Justice, I'm reaching out, okay? I tell you, I get very busy, okay? Especially now that I'm back to, you know, a flying school. But you're giving me value. I have no reason not to show up. This is very good value, Eddie, okay? Now, know your value and be willing to give it, okay? You have free value and you have paid value. Okay, Eddie, I can only.
How do I know which one is free and which one is for paid? Because a lot of us don't even know the difference between the two, whether this is paid value or this is not paid value. We don't know.
That's true. That is also coaching that I do, okay? Because Eddie, between you and I, if you would have asked me to pay $500, I should have paid it because I see the value, okay? But maybe this is a series, okay? Maybe you're building momentum, you are building, you know, a portfolio, okay? That next time you have to host CEOs, they are paying $1,000 and more to be here, okay? So Facebook is free, but there's a paid version of it, isn't it? Instagram is free, there's a paid version, okay? So once you know your skill sets, Eddie, okay? Know what to give. In other words, I am Justice. I'm a leader. I represent entrepreneurship, life coaching, and business life and leadership coaching. And this is my free value to give now, okay? However, if you want me over and above it all, this is what my paid version looks like.
Wow.
Exactly.
And the third thing, you talked about purpose, you talked about value, so we want to go to the third one.
Now, the third one really is to be proactive, okay? Once you know those things, okay? I'll walk into Mandela at CJ's and tell him, look, here's 30,000 worth of leadership, okay? Now, what is leadership? Leadership is Eddie, you and I going in to talk to the amazing staff at CJ's, okay? Now, we value our time, okay? And the tools we bring in, and that equates to that. Eddie, one challenge I have for you is, and this is actually the thing I do with coaching, you know? Now, for instance, Eddie, I would like your bio to say somewhere, okay? Because you've given us leaders platform, to speak and be heard and to impact, okay? Even though this is free value given, I would like to challenge you to account for your everything. The people behind the cameras, your equipment, your power, your time. It's fine to say, Justice, I gave Justice $1,000 of value. And if your bio says, every year, I donate $300,000 worth of value to other leaders, to elevate them, to magnify them so their mission is out there. If I read that on your LinkedIn, I really want to connect, okay? And that attracts the right energy, okay? So, purpose, know what you're good at. Matter of fact, be very good at it. And number 3, be very willing to give. Account for your time. Time is money.
Wow. Well, guys, just as right there, we're going to take another break. The CEO Bench will be back, but on the CEO Bench is Justice Kojaks, who is the founder and the CEO or the Chief Executive Director of Ultimate Group of Companies in Uganda. We'll be right back after this break. This is the CEO Bench.
Or lower. Thank you for watching House of Talent Television. I love to inspire people. I love to talk about my experiences and how God has been able to use me in the different exposures. And through the leadership, through change management and transformation, I've been able to do a couple of things in my life. Now, are you a kind of person who is tired of your status quo? Do you want your situation to change? Are you tired of what is going on in your life? You know, change is a fact of life. We've all been through experiences in the last couple of months that have taken us to a place where we need to do something about our lives. We need to change whatever is going on. So if you have not piled up investment for yourself, you need to do that. If you've not done businesses to hold your family in future, you need to do that. Are you thinking of full-time employment? You need to be thinking about your life after employment or your business in the next couple of years. So if you want us to chat, if you want us to talk about this, please get in touch with us at SEAL Uganda on number 0772443085 or check our website www.sealuganda.com, or on all the social media handles. You can hook me up or Facebook, that is Jinpo Olowo, on Instagram, Jinpo Olowo, and on Twitter and LinkedIn. Then we can chat a way forward with you. We can help you, we can coach you, we can walk with you this journey of financial freedom. Thank you.
Welcome back from that break. This is CEO Bench. My name is Eddie Okela, and in the studio is Justus Kojaks, who is the founder and the Chief Executive Director of the Ultimate Group of Companies in Uganda. Justus, welcome back to the program.
Thank you very much, Eddie.
I love the part that you talked about purpose.
Yes.
A lot of us don't have purpose in life.
Yes.
We are doing so many things, we don't know what purpose, for what purpose, for what reason are we doing
Absolutely.
this. And that is tied to self-leadership.
Yes.
Self-leadership is giving self-meaning, appointing self, and giving self opportunity to do something.
Right.
The second thing you talked about was, be more aware of the value that you're giving out. What is my value?
Yes.
You cannot demand for more pay or more money or more value from others when you're not giving the same value.
No.
And in fact, just as as a CEO, I want to just take you straight to that moment where we begin to go into change management.
Yes.
A lot of people try to, say you are a CEO, and I know you employ people in an organization. And I meet so many people who want to be paid high, paying checks or receiving high paying checks. But whenever you ask them, so what is your value? What are you giving for the company to give you this much?
Yes.
We have struggled to get people who can tell me or who can tell us that I give this much value, therefore I'm worth this much value. If you go and stand on the street, you find very few people who can tell you what their value is, but you speak very passionately about value. I want to touch it a little bit more.
Yeah.
To the person who works for you and demand for more money, but is not worth the money. How do you deal with that situation?
No, thank you, Eddie. It's a common thing, but I also trust that being the leader I am, or at least continue to learn to be, more than anything, I want my people, anyone that comes, it's a partnership, it's collaborative, like we like to call it, to be a part of the ultimate family. These things eventually come out, There's gotta be coachings that happen every time to time. You gotta be able to account for your time, for what you're asking, okay? And so it's very common, that's for sure. But one of the things that, working or being a part of the ultimate group of companies really directly or indirectly basically shapes you to understand is, quantifying, measurable value, tangible value, okay? And so that is really my approach, okay? But like you said, idea again, back to everyone else listening, you must be able to account, for your value given, put in the time, put in the hours and get the results. And then you can leverage that, okay? Come in and tell me, look, see, we made $50,000 out of this. it's fair to ask for anything, okay?
Yes, yeah.
It's very, very fair to ask for anything thereafter, okay?
Wow.
Yeah.
Just as not every one of us is capable of doing that, we're looking at a check that is on the screen right there, and that's you with a group of people. We want to talk about the ultimate cycling, you know, the ultimate group of companies, and you know, a couple of your products and what you're actually offering, and you as a CEO of executive director of, you said, among 8 other people. Would you take us through what is the service that is offered by, you know, the ultimate group of companies?
No, thank you, Eddie, for the opportunity. So we are a group of 8.
Yes.
Adventure, fitness, and tourism. Okay. Now, the flagship brand, you know, the thing that started first is Ultimate Cycling.
Yes.
Ultimate Cycling is a community of passionate riders and bike shops, okay? Now, out of the bike shop, we also birthed the first professional bike brand, which is the Gorilla Bikes, okay? I benchmarked the name Gorilla because racing out of Uganda, North America, Europe, South Africa, Asia, people relate Uganda to Idi Amin.
Yes.
Or the gorillas, okay? So for me, I took that opportunity to benchmark and retell the story of Uganda, okay? Hence the Gorilla Bikes, and 5% of our top line revenue goes to conserving the gorillas, okay? Now, one other reminder is I live for community and leadership, okay? So all of the businesses that we run, they are very, very community sensitive, okay? So 5% of the Gorilla Bikes goes to the conservation of the gorillas we have in Uganda. Fast forward, actually, I'm really excited to tell you about our latest product we're launching. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the Ultimate Adventures mobile application, which is basically the first activities only multi-sided platform, vendors and the adventure seeker. It's a market platform for you. It's a marketplace online for you to actually book all of your activities. Now, our beautiful core proposition is basically co-creating non-existing activities in Uganda, okay? We launched Independence Day this year. We have really, really cool and amazing things, but also one of the products we have actually coming is we're basically going into the aviation space, okay? Now we have the Ultimate Aviation Club coming. This is basically licking the cat out of the basket, but we have to dream, guys, you know?
Yes, of course.
So we want to make a lot of things possible, especially from a tourism aviation perspective in Uganda. But continuing on with the other brand, we have the Ultimate Fitness Kampala, which is a premium workout space in Uganda. And like I said, I don't show up without giving value. Eddie, allow me to give you a family membership, annual membership. You and your family are now on members of the Ultimate Fitness Kampala Club because you love to work out. So anytime your membership card is running, and so please welcome, you know.
Wow. I don't think that this guy has actually understood what you've just given the show. You know, so let me just give you an understanding of what the membership is when we talk about membership in the gym. That's probably $1,200.
Yes.
A year.
Yes.
And it could be even more than that.
No, absolutely. Now with, you know, family is $2,000.
It's $2,000.
$2,000 a year.
Wow.
Yes.
Which usually so many people are looking for. So thank you very much, Justus.
Of course, Eddie. Thank you.
And I want to just take you straight to the next point here. Changing lives.
Yeah.
You started moving from a young person to changing your life. We're going into change management.
Yes.
A lot of us don't know how to transition from one point to the next point. We're struggling to know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. We don't know. But you're here right now. You're a CEO, executive director of a group of companies that are doing amazing things out of Uganda, going to the world. If I'm watching you from anywhere across the world and I don't know what to do, I mean, what would you say was the journey of change management from your perspective? And I want to say change management from this kind of perspective. What is your understanding, first of all, of change management? And which principles are you always using as Justus to move from point A to point B to point C?
Yes.
And also the change management from the Ultimate Cycling. When you first started, I remember launching your first, you know, group ride going to Ginger, I think from Kisementi a couple of years ago. And down the road, the company has now moved on to assembling bikes and, you know, and to, you know, the aviation part of it, the tourism part of it. And now we are going into the applications for booking part of it. what is your understanding of change management, and which principles do you use as an individual to move out from where you are to the next level? Because it's not easy.
Thank you very much, Eddie. Allow me to quote my favorite, one of my favorite humans in this country, Amos Wekesa.
Yes.
I hope you're watching, or at least give us a mention here, okay?
Yes.
I'm very fascinated by Amos's story, okay? Yeah. And I remember we're talking to, all of the DPCs in Uganda and Olilim, and I remember Amos articulating his story, okay? Amos is not afraid to say he was so poor, born and raised in an orphanage type of setting and coming into the city to do the hustle, okay? I remember the thing that stood out for me most, Eddie. Amos said he used to walk, okay, of sorts from kind of Bukoto to Nsambia only to eat meat, okay? Yes. And that brought so much delight, okay? However, on his way back walking, yes, of course the meat starts to cut, okay? Yes. Now, in Amos's words, I remember that he said, while walking, suddenly he started crying, okay? He was very poor, okay? That he started crying, okay? Now, to me, that occurs to me as that moment where you are tired, I want to see something different for myself, Eddie, okay?
I want to change.
I want to change, yeah? If you don't catch that, unfortunately, things might stay the same, okay? So catch those triggers. What are you tired of, okay? Okay? Eddie, I celebrate you today. It's a delight being here, okay? You have come from point A to B. Yeah. You have a vision. Takes me back to purpose. Yes. What do you want in life, okay? And how are you going to take your strides, okay? My other very favorite metaphor, Eddie, was before my very first flight, okay? Hearsay, planes, go, glide, okay? Turbulence, etc. That's fine, okay? My very first flight, I didn't know what takeoff was. I didn't know what landing was, but I fixed my eyes or my attention to takeoff, okay? Now check in, all of that stuff, taxiing, basically the craft leaving wherever it is to the runway. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, okay? When when takeoff moment comes, you will know, okay? The momentum builds, the sound, everything is, I am ready to go. Yes. This is a huge unit vessel, trimming, gliding the skies. Yes. Oh man, guys, I get very passionate about this, but really it is that you want to see something different. Yes. Go scratch, dig the ground, mean it, Eddie, okay? Yes. Mean it to go from point A to B. Yes. Otherwise, same old story.
Wow. Yeah. So, how do we communicate change moving forward? From what you're saying, assuming you're moving from your job to the next job, or you're moving from another organization to the next organization, how would you be able to communicate that to others? Because another problem we have with most people normally is moving from one point to the next point. They don't know how to go about it, and sometimes some people burn the bridges or crash the plane. In the takeoff you crash and then you can't go back inside. How do you manage and how do you communicate to say, guys, I'm moving from point A to point B, I'm sorry but I'm moving now? How do you communicate that, and how are you managing changes in those different organizations that you have at the Ultimate Group?
No, thank you very much, Eddie. So change is inevitable, and there's never a day anything is kept constant, okay? So going back to first principles, okay? If you are an asset, if you're of value to your organization, okay, then you must be able to respect that, okay? You're an asset, okay? Unfortunately, there's assets and liabilities, okay? So if you are positioned as an asset, as a leader, if you know your purpose, articulately and clearly, you should be able to, say, look, my time has come, and here's a new opportunity. But also flipping that, Eddie, I get that a lot, I get people come and go. And I can tell you that some people just come in and let you know, look, sir, here comes a time. It's been a great, wonderful journey, and it pains, your heart bleeds, okay? But the one thing I tell everyone at Ultimate is, okay, Ultimate is not the beginning and the end, okay? Also, as a leader, I appreciate that, I want the best for you, okay? And if I can't give it to you, if anything has come, then please take it on. Okay. However, also the other thing I've seen with a lot of fellow employers, it's even actually speaking to the employees. Okay, I see people transition and live in a bit of turbulence. Okay. Now I want to encourage you really as an employer, and also something I learned from Amos Wekesa: do not put emotions. Okay. So from an employee perspective, we agree that life is a journey, and that's it, okay? So the benchmark is, as a leader, I know that you're another leader, you're going to sprout and branch, go be anything, I wish I had it all to give you, but that is how life is.
Wow. That said, on the change management, my last question on the change management, what are the secrets that you have used in managing change from Kitenge to, your family to Kitenge, and then from Kitenge to, the ultimate cycling, and then going into what you are now, becoming in life as a CEO of the organization. I'm sure along the way, there are some secret stuff that you have done to get you there.
Yes.
If you would share with us,
yes,
what are those things that you used in managing change to get from one point to the next point?
No, really,
three things, if you
three
have
things,
mind.
I think the very first thing is consistency, okay? Managing change, and especially building a team, feeling so delighted in what you've built, and for many other reasons, seeing some people drop, or even seeing the vision change. It only takes one thing: consistency and commitment. Actually, commitment being the second, to really stick to that coordinate, okay? Otherwise, very, very, very easy to get deviated. I think I would work by the two, but really also the other third thing actually to say is, one, you must be able to dream, have a good vision, and be able to sell it. I think the other very, very important thing, the gap with all of most of the entrepreneurs, at least I see, is the lack of you must articulate your vision. It's got to be a real good vision, big, and then sell it.
Wow. Just as we're talking to Justus Kojaks right here on the CEO Bench. The CEO Bench focuses on bringing people like him who are on the move to the top, and those who are aspiring to lead you to a position of success. If you're not careful, they can also lead you to a position of failure. And those already on the top and coming down, we've hosted many people here as CEOs, and we are here to allow them share their experiences as people who have done it and people who are doing it, and so that you can learn a thing or two from Justus. I want to just bring you through straight first to the question that I have from somebody. It says, "Hi, Eddie Okila, thank you very much for bringing Justus on the show. That gentleman inspires me. I saw him when I was at Watoto Church when he was growing up. Look at the person he has become today. I'm an old person, but the young man challenges me with the things that he's doing." Justus, I have a question for you.
All right.
How can I turn around my life from employment? I've been in employment for long, and I'm hearing what you're saying right now. I can't even do 3 of the things you're doing. Can you just share one thing that I can do at my age as a 54-year-old man still in employment to move? I want to move into self-employment or move into retirement, but I don't know how to go about it. And then you talk about fitness. How do you ride a bike from Jinja all the way to Karamoja and back? What courage? Who do I need to spend time with? I mean, suddenly this person knows you. Suddenly this person talks about, makes reference of, time they have had with you at Watoto. And he's still in employment. I think you've had this question before we go into the transformation.
No, absolutely. Thank you very much. So 2 things. I will start with the cycling, Kampala, Karamoja, Jinja, Karamoja, and back. For the record, I have friends that have cycled the whole world, 4 years, 6 years on that bike, pedaling, okay? Now, in translation to this, to scale it down to this, for me, I love metaphors, by the way, okay? So I use cycling as a journey, okay? So we are all going through life, and obviously you have your course, okay? If I'm going from here to point B, it is a journey. The ups, the downs, the weather changes, sometimes we fall off our bikes. That is fine. We meet awesome people, we meet some not very nice people to us. So really it goes back to the principle of, the vision, the purpose, okay? Obviously, we get discouraged, we get encouraged, even with business, with life. You meet the same on the trail, okay? The most important thing takes me back to the principle of purpose. Know who you are, what you want, and start there, okay? Now, brings me back to the second question. One of the things I teach with business coaching is I love building models that are basically built around passion. Know your purpose, that's the principle, but number two, know your passions, okay? Now, for me, I love biking, okay? This is something I would do for nothing, okay? Passion also translates to something you'd suffer for, Eddie, right?
Yes, true.
Like the passion of Christ. Christ
yes,
suffered for us, okay?
Yes.
I would basically suffer for biking. However, imagine this scenario, okay? Now, bikes, okay? Riding a bike pays me, okay? What a perfect scenario. Like, how good could it get? If you're doing something that you do for nothing, but then now it's paying you, okay? So first principles, I love building models around our passion. Let's talk about your why, but also go into understand what are things you like, okay? Do you love farming? Do you like to see animals thrive? And do you just like talking to people? Are you a comforter? Build a model around that, okay? And it's something I'm also really happy to do. I'm happy to donate time and we build a model for for whoever asked that question. So really, I think that's how far I can go for now. But really, know your purpose, know your passions, and the third line is basically your values. What governs you? Okay, if you have those set of values, then that's your code.
Wow,
absolutely. Wow. And then best case scenario, tier 2 is how do you go passion to portfolio? Okay, the things you love to do, make money, monetize that.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that just us right there on the CEO Bench. We're going to take another break, and when we come back, the CEO Bench will talk about transformation as the last part of the show, and as well as we want to dig deep into the 2021 coronavirus situation. What are the learnings from there, from the business perspective, from a man who owned a gym, and the gym business is down. They've invested quite a significant amount of money in setting up the ultimate gym and the place down there in Bugolobi, right here in the city of Kampala. And if you've visited, you have seen the place. If you've gone there to get a bike, you've seen the place. How do you bounce back from that loss of COVID-19? Stay right there, I'll be right back after this. This is the CEO Bench.
My name is Dr. Jinpo Olowo. Thank you for watching House of Talent Television. I love to inspire people. I love to talk about my experiences and how God has been able to use me in the different exposures. And through the leadership, through change management and transformation, I've been able to do a couple of things in my life. Now, are you a kind of person who is tired of your status quo? Do you want your situation to change? Are you tired of what is going on in your life? Change is a fact of life. We've all been through experiences in the last couple of months that have taken us to a place where we need to do something about our lives. We need to change whatever is going on. So if you have not piled up investment for yourself, you need to do that. If you've not done businesses to hold your family in future, you need to do that. Are you thinking of full-time employment? You need to be thinking about your life after employment or your business in the next couple of years. So if you want us to chat, if you want us to talk about this, please get in touch with us at SEAL Uganda on number 0772443085 or check our website www.sealuganda.com, or on all the social media handles. You can hook me up or Facebook, that is Jinpo Olowo, on Instagram, Jinpo Olowo, and on Twitter and LinkedIn. Then we can chat a way forward with you. We can help you, we can coach you, we can walk with you this journey of financial freedom. Thank you.
There's a lot that is involved in the civil society organizations. There's leadership in itself, there's management of processes, there's management of the human resource, there's fundraising, there's research. It's a lot that needs to be done, and many times there is a feeling that is too much for a woman because she has other traditional roles that she needs to do as at home. So many times as people are looking for leaders in civil society organizations, the priority is usually given to men because of our society that feels that men have the time, men have the capacity, men have the ability to lead, to take this organization to greater heights. And women, there will be a problem. They will have to go to maternity for maternity leave. They have issues. They are too emotional. They have not done the courses that are good enough for leaders. They don't have time to to go for extra learning or to go for work outside Kampala because they have to tend to their children. So there's too much that society has tied around a woman. And it's true. We have these traditional roles that we have to do, but does not in any way mean that women cannot lead in these spaces.
It is the CEO Bench. Welcome back from that break. My name is Eddie Okela, and Justus, welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
First of all, I want to share some love coming out from some of the people watching you.
Oh, thank you.
And Ella Don watching from Naguru, the city suburb of Kampala. Thank you very much. She says she's following the show.
Nice.
And I have my brother from another mother, Daniel, in the US, saying I stayed up late to basically follow up the show. And I've got another gentleman all the way in Australia, says it's late in my my place of residence right now, but I love seeing those people do their thing. I saw their race in Karamoja with Amos Wekesa. That was amazing, and I love it. Wow. So there are people who have been following, and I have a gentleman here called Loja Businje saying, keep winning, bro.
Oh, yes.
I'm following the show. And then, of course, I have got my brothers from another mothers in Tanzania. I said, I love the story of, running around with a bike. I've seen Amos Wekesa and Justus doing some amazing stuff. They inspire me to get into riding the bike as a part of my fitness. That's a good stuff.
Oh, yes.
You want to read some from there?
Oh, yeah, thank you very much. I also want to thank everyone on my page right now live. Moses in Dubai, thank you very much. Actually, Moses saw me take it from 10. I used to have a crazy bike, BMX, and they must have thought I was crazy, but here we are today. Yes. Consistency is everything,
from childhood, you're riding the bike.
10 years, yes. Same goes to Roger Businje here. My mother is actually tuned in here.
Wow.
So this is Mommy, and Chichi is my last born.
Yes.
They say they are very, very proud of me. Of course, I'm very, very proud of you all. Thank you very much, by the way. My parents, I thank you in a very, very tremendous way. My sisters, I'm the only son of 5.
Yes.
I appreciate you, Mom. I can't be here, Dad, family, sisters, and all of my extended family. There is no way, Eddie, I could have been here today if it were not for my parents.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
Yes. But overseas, sorry,
Yes.
I see Don Larry as well.
Yes.
Cynthia
Yes.
in Belgium,
Yes.
someone I also grew up with here.
Yes, yes.
And Ida, my yearly fellow. I
Yes.
appreciate you guys. And everyone else, thank you for the love. We
Wow,
appreciate it.
wow. So we want to read another one from here, coming from London. My name is Joyce. I'm based in London. I love to see those two people ride a bicycle. They have turned around. They made Kampala now has become a place to ride the bike. Thank you guys for leading the way, and thank you for investing in making people live healthy life. I'm enjoying the show. Where have I been? Well, the CEO Bench has been here all these years, guys, and of course we want to say thank you very much for being a part of the family of the CEO Bench growing bigger and better. Just us, our time is fast spent, but we want to go back to the show.
Yes.
I want to take you straight to transformation.
Yes.
Transformation requires that everything that we're doing has a measurable metrics.
Yes.
In order for us to make an impact or to measure the impact of what we're doing,
Yes.
we must have justifiable, measurable metrics
Yes.
to follow what we're doing.
Yes.
Now, you have obviously been changing lives and turning around things
Yes.
wherever you have been.
Yes.
What are the tools that you use
Yes.
to measure your impact
Yes.
of the things you're doing? 1, in the community.
Yes.
2, on the individuals that you interact
Yes.
with. 3, on the people you work with.
Yes.
And 4, in your own family.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Eddie. I get that a lot. Oversee, because we juggle and I'm a dreamer, okay, doing so many things at the same time, okay. So oversee, you will get revenues, good indicators. If it's business, you will get like for the Kitenge Africa Foundation, basically getting kids go through school. We use very, very strategic M&E tools to basically account for 100,000 lives reached and impacted somewhat. Family, really, it is well-being, wellness. It is one of actually my favorite things here is also failure, Eddie, okay? And that brings me back to something I'll talk about, So mindset, how we look at things, okay? Failure for me, I celebrate failure, okay? As an entrepreneur, I have so many wins and so many falls, okay? So I choose to perceive failure as a success because it is graduation. It is basically getting me wiser and giving me a very different opinion, about things that I've tried. Because otherwise then, I'm forever in remorse of the unknown. I wish I'd done that and maybe could have been anything. So over and above everything else, failure is something actually I use as a tool, okay, to measure progress and success.
Wow. And in terms of transformations, how is your project transforming the lives of the people that you are implementing? For example, talk about the cycling business. How is it transforming the lives of people who buy the bicycles from you? Do you have the tool to measure that?
Yes, absolutely. So first off, we have part of the reason the Ultimate Cycling Uganda was started was there was lack of similar or like-minded, communities, okay? Now, as we speak right now, we have a database, okay, of over 3,000 people that are vested into cycling, or at least very, very deliberate about, the development of cycling in Uganda. We have liaison and engagement with the KCCA, the government of Uganda, UNRA, okay, and obviously you see the president talk a lot about the opportunity to create bicycle lanes. Every other lockdown, the president talks about, people going out on their bicycles, okay? That is tangible, and I would like to say that, the vision at Ultimate Cycling is to enthuse people to cycle, okay? I can tell you that people are enthused about cycling. The only one thing I have to say is people that are driving cars and bodabodas or bikes, please have some regard for the cyclists, because we are very eco or environmental friendly. We do not remit or throw out any gases. It is very, very good. Of course, it's a very good physical exercise, physical, mental, and all of the above, but also there's a very big social element, you know. We ride with CEOs, you know. Eddie has flagged us here. Eddie has a CEO flagging a bunch of CEOs and others, okay? We've basically been able to employ, we basically have our operations around the country now in Bunyonyi, Jinja, Mbale, Mukono, and Kampala, and we're actually spreading out, okay? All of that is employment opportunities, but also whenever we go out into communities, Eddie, to ride, like when you go from here to Karamoja, we're basically going with support vans, which are basically, you know, getting a lot of gas. We are eating on our trail. We basically pay for accommodation. We check into lodges and, you know, have a comfortable bed after a long day. And so that is a lot of value addition down the chain.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about 2020. The coronavirus pandemic came into the world and turned around everything.
Yes.
You, as an investor, and your colleagues have just invested into a very big, beautiful place.
Yes.
The ultimate gym.
Yes.
The investment.
Yes.
What has been the impact of coronavirus onto that business, and how are you dealing with it?
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Eddie. So again, for me, it's the paradigm shift, mindset, okay? So whereas COVID is here, first of all, I acknowledge that COVID doesn't only slap us as a business. Everyone is, okay? My best, as most grounded, knowing that aeroplanes at some point were all grounded, okay? Now, if all of the, you know, multi-billion-dollar industries are grounded, then who are we, you know? But fast forward, here we are today. COVID has taught us that we can basically sell gym equipment. So we basically run that as a showroom.
Wow.
Okay, right now Ultimate Fitness basically consults in gym management, gym equipment, gym construction. And so if you're out there, you want to build a gym at home, all these condominium blocks and apartments coming up, the lodges have a lot of need for that. That is basically what COVID has taught us.
So that's what you transformed your business.
That is it.
In the COVID-19 situation period. That's what you trained on.
Absolutely. But also the beauty is, you know, not only to sell to Kampala, okay? Because it's also very limiting with a physical location. Your market size is that little. Now, when we go online and sell equipment, then we are servicing East Africa. That is the vision, okay? A beautiful e-commerce website that basically services East Africa and across.
Wow. Let's talk about what are you looking for in life as a person? With all of this going on at your age now, what are you looking for in life? What more are you looking for in life?
Yeah. In a nutshell, I'll take you back to my purpose. Why I woke up this morning is to inspire the next tier of global leaders and entrepreneurs. Everything that I do, Eddie and everyone else watching, revolves around that. That's the epitome, that's the center of my heart, okay? Now, what I'm doing now with all of the new products we're launching is basically creating 1 million jobs across the African continent. Because we are leveraging innovation and technology, okay? Once we launch, okay, we are basically scaling across Africa and basically hence creating jobs, and you can go down that value chain, okay? It is basically 1 million jobs across the African continent. Once that is arrived at, I am free.
Wow.
Absolutely.
I want to just ask you a question, you know, a closing question actually, really. What excites you every day you wake up in the morning? Every day you wake up in the morning, what is getting you so excited about that? When you get up in the morning, you're excited, and what do you want to achieve with that excitement?
Yes. Thank you, Eddie. So the most overlapping thing or the most transcending thing for me here is purpose, values, and my passions, okay? Now, I feel very lucky again. I'm so aligned, okay? When I'm doing, you know, community transformation and leadership projects, you know. For instance, when one of the most priceless moments I've had in life, I remember just going to a corner, docking myself for a minute, was playing soccer, football, with former homeless children were taken from Kampala to Mpiji, okay?
Wow.
Now, that is wealth, okay? And I just want to tell you now, as I wrap it up, for me, it is, we are looking, okay, the reason I woke up again is to basically build the next generation and not buy the next building, okay? So we are not looking for the next building to buy or to build.
Yes.
We are basically looking for the next generation to build, okay?
Wow.
And for me, that is my why. Every time I get up in the morning, it is what difference can I make, okay?
Yeah.
Because out of that defines my true definition of wealth, okay?
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Wow. Wow. I want to say a big shout out to my brother from another mother, JB Atine, all the way in, I think in Belgium. JB, thank you very much for being a part of the CEO bench, growing bigger and better. And of course, I want to reach out to my sister from another mother, Professor Penny Nachayo, all the way in Washington University. Shout out to you from another brother here who is spitting fire on the CEO bench. Justus, this has been a great moment having you on the CEO bench. And somebody is asking a question here. It says, well, thank you very much, Eddie Okela, for bringing the gentleman to the show. I have enjoyed the CEO bench today. Ask him, how was Justus able to connect with Amos Wekesa and becoming very good friends? But also, was it easy to teach Amos how to ride a bike? He never used to ride a bike. Now he looks more fitter. Well, they basically want to know, how do you connect with people like Amos Wekesa, and how do you get them to ride the bicycle? That's the question coming in. Yes.
Thank you very much. Very, very good that you asked that. I take you back to the same principle, okay? Who are you? What are you good at? And what's your free value to give, okay? The first time I met him, he actually called. I see you sell bikes. He came around. Being the Amos you all know, he was very excited, started promoting us. That was his free value. He started promoting. Amos writes on his Facebook, we sold containers of bicycles, okay? I have never been so... My phone rang without looking. I said, thank you for calling Ultimate Cycling. How can I help you? I knew it was a surge from Amos. He gave us free value. Now thereafter, I gave him $100,000 worth of tangible assets, okay? I built Amos and his son $30,000 bicycles. The bike he rides and his son, top notch, 50,000 USD. Okay?
Wow.
I said, I'm going to be your sponsor. Okay?
Wow.
That is free value, okay? Gear, I'm actually his sponsor, I'm his cycling sponsor, okay? The rest is history, synergies, okay? And that is the hack. What do you have to give right away?
Wow.
That is going to bring everything else.
Wow.
Thank you, Eddie.
Wow. Well, you've had it from Justus down to that question, and
then and then how easy it was. Amos is already an active guy, so really I remember that I had to. He liked bobbing. We call it bobbing on the bike. I told him, try to stay as still as possible, because this in itself is a workout. If you have to do this for an hour, you're burning your energy.
So you won't have enough energy to keep going.
Exactly. So try to stay as still as possible. And being the active guy, he already is the hard worker. Everything else was easy there.
Wow. Wow. So there you have it. Everybody who has been asking, and thank you very much, Justus, once again for coming to the show. The CEO bench is about voting. And just as you were voted by a huge number of people who kept asking, and we've got a lot of people, we've got about 50 people on the list of nomination.
Oh my God.
And I'm actually shocked that you came before Amos. He was the first person nominated. We've written to him, but he's been running around quite a bit. So we've got a lot of people we've nominated, and the CEO bench is about nomination. You have to be nominated, and when you're nominated, they have to give the reason why they have nominated you. And then our job is to reach out to bring you. We want you to reach out to those who nominated you. What message do you have for those who are nominated? If you look into this camera as we close the show.
Again, I take the honors, okay? And I would like to take this bow over you all. Thank you very, very much for believing in my vision. Thank you for continuing to support my leadership journey. I would like to challenge you one more time. I want you to go and think about your own life purpose, okay? Because that is going to be your blueprint, okay? That is your blueprint, and it will guide you. That is your guide, okay? Think about your purpose, the things that you are extremely good at, and then start to give value, okay? I actually gotta wrap it up telling you 5 things, okay? The 5 things you will do every day to be anything you want to be, okay? Number 1, ask yourself what value you have to give, okay? Number 2, go back and master the value you have to give. Number 3, everyone you talk to, ask them what value you can give. Number 4, give value. Be of value. And number 5, as you wrap up your day, ask yourself, what value did I give? Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Justus, for coming to the show. We want to say goodbye to Justus, and to all of you guys there, we want to say thank you. The CEO Bench has come to an end today. Until next week, stay grounded and stay fresh. We will be bringing you another CEO on the CEO Bench.
Thank you, guys.
Out, we're bongering, we're getting it out. See you until we meet again.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome to Slam Dunk Basketball Talk on House of Talent Television. My name is Emmanuel. Remember, this is the show where we dissect the game of basketball happening in Uganda and internationally. We get to talk about the various things that are happening, the basketball competitions. We get to analyze what goes on in the game of basketball, especially what's happening in the Ugandan League. Remember, you can catch us on our social media handles at House of Talent Uganda, that is on our Facebook, at House of Talent Uganda live stream on YouTube, or at House of Talent ug.com on our website. Make sure to share this show. If you know there's someone who needs to be watching right now, just let them know that the show is on and we're going to be talking about basketball. My counterpart Felix Upal couldn't be here today, but I know that he's somewhere watching and he will be here next time. But nonetheless, I have a man in the studio today who has played the game of basketball for a very long time, and he has got a lot of experience. He has transitioned from just being a player into being a coach, and he is here today to talk about his experience and also the status of university basketball in Uganda. This is none other than Osito Jacob. Jacob, you're very welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
It's weird to call you Jacob because on court we just know you as OJ. You know?
Yeah, just like I know you as Eti.
As Eti. Yeah, so for those who are watching us live, on the basketball court, we are not known by our government names. We are known by different nicknames that you can get through, you know, playing the game of basketball. And they're called street names, basically. So
like a stage name.
Yes, like a stage name. Yeah. So if you went and asked for Emmanuel at pool court, they wouldn't know it was me. Yeah, but OJ, you're very welcome to the show.
Thank you very
much. It's very good to have you.
I'm humbled.
Thank you for honoring our request to be here. And we'll just jump right in. I know that you've been playing basketball for a while now, and sure. Your transition into being a coach for the Makerere University Sparks ladies team.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So we just want to find out. You start, obviously, all of us start our journey, you know, not knowing the game of basketball at all.
True.
Yeah, and I believe that you had a start, and right now I don't want to say you're at an end, but you're in the process of becoming something bigger. You know? So we just wanted to walk us through how you started from being a player and transitioning all the way into a ladies coach. I mean, you could have coached the Makerere guys team or something, but now you're coaching the ladies. So what was that transition like for you? What is that journey that, you know, we can listen to?
Okay, first and foremost, thank you very much for hosting me. I'm really humbled, and I'm blessed to be here. Yeah, surely. Talking about basketball, personally, my journey of basketball started from far, very far. That was in high school, and in a situation whereby we did not have enough exposure. We didn't have coaches. We didn't have the facilities like we do have them right now. I'm saying this like there are so many years ago, there are not so many. That was about, I began knowing basketball in 2007. That was at KPC when I was in P7 vacation. That is end of 2007 actually, that KPC North. That's when I first started basketball. Then 2008 when I joined Namibyango in Senior 1.
I saw people playing. Actually, the people whom I saw there playing and inspired me were Sally of, he played for Chambogo Warriors.
Yeah.
Do you remember him?
The left-handed.
Yes, yes. And Omongin.
Yeah.
Omongin, last I saw him playing for City Oil. Those were the guys whom I found in Namilanga. I was in senior one. These guys were playing basketball at another level. And we would actually just go there to watch them. You know, for us by that time, they couldn't allow you to step on the basketball court that those guys are on.
Yeah.
Because they were senior sixes. You are a senior one. You just, the best you can do is watch.
Yeah.
Other than that, you don't step there. But nonetheless, that's where I started. Beautifully, or I would say lucky for me, that when I was playing with those guys, once in a while when they could see me about midday one, when the sun is very hot,
yeah.
when they are still resting and waiting to come. So when we would go to court and, you know, try a few shots here and there, and then they would come and they meet us, they would see what we are doing, and, you know, they would identify talent. I don't know if I can use that one. So, you know, one or another, they identified my talent. They realized I could at least throw in the ball.
Yeah.
At any sport. They would just give it to me. Although I was weak, I didn't know how to bounce. They only told me one thing: throw in the ball.
Yeah.
And throwing in the ball gave me an opportunity to play with them.
Yeah.
When I was in senior one, senior two, but still, of course, I still had people who didn't believe in me, and it was challenging. More so because Naminyango College is a school that is known for rugby.
Yeah.
So everyone who went there, the first thing was rugby. Yeah, you hear anything out there when the guys are talking about Naminyango College, it's rugby. So when you come in here and it's basketball, you're like, I've not heard about basketball here. This one is not going anywhere. Yeah. And you know, when you're in high school, it's usually the outings that motivate us a lot.
True.
Those who play rugby would go out like every weekend.
Yeah.
And you're in senior one, you're like, this is what I want.
Yeah.
I want to be going out every weekend. That was like the epitome of everything in high school. But when I tried playing rugby, unfortunately, I had a very serious injury. By then, that's what gave me a chance to go and check on basketball. Someone dared me, one of our very good players by the way of rugby. He dared me, and they gave me a ball, and he wanted to tackle me. So I also wanted to prove a point that I can knock him. Unfortunately, yeah, I hit him successfully, but he also hit me successfully. So he hit me, and I dislocated my finger. Yeah. That is an injury that he left on me permanently. Each time I look at it like this, I'm like, yeah. It was called Donnie in high school, but it's called Donald. He actually finished from Seta High. Each time I look at it, I'm sure he doesn't even remember. Yeah. Each time I look at it, I'm like, yeah, Donnie, you hit me here, but the reason I play basketball now. So after that, I went and tried basketball, but it was still hard because, you know, I came from a primary school that did not have any sports background, especially basketball. Yeah, and that school is in Ntinda. I studied from Kalinabiri Primary School. That's where I hail from before I joined Naminyango College. Yeah. But I went to Naminyango, I didn't know basketball, and there were these other kids who knew the game. So even if I had the height advantage, they still knew the dribble, the rules, and the what. So that's where I got challenged. These guys would put me aside because they're like, he doesn't know anything. Yeah. So it was very hard for me to break through, but I think I have that nature of being persistent. So I kept on going there each time I had the opportunity because I couldn't go back to rugby. Yeah. No, I couldn't. After that knock, I was like, no, I'll try another sport. And I loved sports naturally. So I kept on persisting, and then the senior sixes, those of Omongin, realized I could throw in the ball and they could give me a chance. Yeah. So I went on shooting once in a while until my senior two there. That's when I began. Now, by my senior two, Naminyango had constructed another basketball court, but it still had a lot of dust on the floor. Yeah. Now that was our court. So that's where for us would go and play. Yeah. That's where I got my basketball experience from. Yeah, I began playing, and unfortunately by then we did not have a basketball coach, like a permanent coach for Naminyango College. Yeah. Since I think the school was more focused into rugby, maybe, I'm not sure why, but I would just assume, because rugby always had about 2-3 coaches, and these were old boys of the school. Yeah. Basketball, I think we didn't have an old boy by then who was so much interested in teaching the game, because we didn't have any, and yet we needed one. Yeah. By my senior two, senior three, we are now getting a chance of being exposed to playing with. Now, you know, when you reach in senior three in such a school, you now get a chance to play against the senior fives once in a while, because senior three, you're now a junior elder, I would say. Yeah, so you can also command some respect. So you get the chance to play. And for me, I was I don't know if I should say whether fortunate or unfortunate, that by that time, the senior 5s and 6s, by that time, we didn't have basketballers. So I was one of the senior players now, although I was still a junior elder.
Yeah.
So I began commanding some respect there. I got a chance to become a captain for the O-level by then. Then when I went to senior 4, we did not have a captain.
Yeah.
The HSCs were very poor at the game. Yeah. But this is something that used not to happen. It was actually not allowed. An O-level cannot be the captain of the school team.
Yeah.
But for me, because I was doing the job very well, and I was in senior 4, and the ones who are in A-level knew less than I did. So they were like, let the guy take the job. So that's how I became the captain. And the other thing that made them also accept that is that I used to coach these senior 1s and senior 2s. Because I realized that there was a gap in basketball and these kids didn't know, and there were very many. So I would just tell them, come, I teach them what I knew by then. Yeah. This is how they shoot, this is how they bounce the ball. I just teach them the basics. And interestingly, even some of those HSCs, I would also teach them. I have some good friends of mine, they look at, even my classmates, they look at me and they're like, yeah, you taught us basketball. Yeah. I was in HSC and I was teaching, I was in senior 4 and I was teaching my elders how to play the game. And they were respecting me, that's the beauty of it. They could listen to what I would say and they were learning, so they were like, this guy will do the job. Yeah, so that's how I began my coaching career slowly. In my O-level, that was 2011. 2012, 2013, that's when I was in HSC. In HSC, that's when I went so much into coaching. And I told one of my friends that, you know what, if I leave high school, I want to either become a coach or an umpire. By then I wasn't sure which one I can do. In fact, I wasn't even sure which one can pay.
Well, let me cut you off there. Yes. It's really exciting to know your high school journey and you know how you're going to transition into the university. We're going to take a break right now. I know there are many people outside there excited to know how you transition from high school into university basketball. You're watching the Slam Dunk Basketball Talk on House of Talent Television. My name is Emmanuel. In the studio with me is Osito Jacob, aka OJ, the head coach for the Makerere University Sparks ladies team. We will take a break right now and we will be right back. This is House of Talent Television, the Slam Dunk Basketball Talk Show. Welcome back to the Slam Dunk Basketball Talk. My name is Emmanuel and this is House of Talent Television. Remember, you can catch us on our socials at House of Talent TV, that's on our Facebook, on House of Talent TV Uganda live stream, that's on our YouTube. You can also catch us at HTV Uganda, that's on our Twitter handle, or at houseoftalentug.com, that's on our website. Make sure to share this show as far and wide as you can, because this is the show that we talk about basketball. It's the only basketball show in Uganda. With me in the studio today is OJ. His other name is Osito Jacob, but we only just call him OJ because that is how we know him on the basketball court. And before we went off for a break, you were basically telling us your journey, how you started the game of basketball, how you in S3 you started coaching the S1s, and you know we had almost reached that point where you transitioned into campus, and you know just take us from there, you know, moving from high school now moving into campus and becoming a coach. Just take us from there.
Yes, from high school, actually my coaching started in high school in my senior 4 around there. And then when I went to, that was in O-level actually, so when I went to my vacation, that was in end of 2013. That's I was in senior 6 vac. Actually, not 2014. I was in senior 6 vac. I began by coaching. I was volunteering as an assistant coach to Namilyango College. You know, after just finishing, and I was their captain, and I was already coaching those who were there. But because by then my high school coach was Maurice Otedro. He taught me a lot of things. He actually used to tell me what to teach others when he's not around. And he was a very busy man, I remember. So he would tell me, on this day, teach them ABCD. I'll come back at the end of the week. So by the time I finished high school, I knew nearly everything that Morris would coach us.
Yeah.
So when I was in senior 6 VAC, I was more like his assistant.
Yeah.
Although the school used not to pay me, I was more of a volunteer. So whenever there were games, I would go there and work with him, and I support him, and I learn new things. And I got an opportunity. My first opportunity was out of volunteering to coach Namilyango as an assistant.
Yeah.
Who knew very well, because I had experience. I had done that for about 4 years as his assistant. I got an opportunity to go and coach Hilton High School. They were having a game during qualifiers, Mukono qualifiers. They were having a game, and they were struggling.
Yeah.
So their coach, by then, he was also an OB of the school, and he needed help. So he called me to help in.
Yeah.
So I went to help in, and because of what I had learned, I just adjusted a few things in his game, and it was actually the girls playing, the girls of Hilton. These girls won this game by a big margin, and they were very excited. I was also very happy because it looked like a miracle. So that is where I think my breakthrough started in coaching.
Yeah.
Because actually, as a player, that journey was really, because as I told you, or as we earlier discussed, when I was in high school, I never got a chance to play nationals.
Yeah.
So, and you know, in our setting here, if you don't play nationals at high school, no one gets to know you.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I was the captain of my team, but I never had the chance because my parents wanted me to concentrate on books, yeah. Which I did. And they later allowed me to do basketball after I had finished high school, interestingly. Yeah, so after they had won that game, Hilton, the following year, they were like, you know what, why don't you come and help us here? I told them, okay, I can do that. By then, I was the first year. I was just joining campus, first year. So I would move from Makerere, and I go straight to Mukono, Wantoni, that side. And I coach them, and they give me some command. They would fund my transport. I would go actually twice a week. It was Friday. It was either Friday and Saturday, 2 days a week. Yeah. And I was very happy because I was the head coach for the first time. You know, I had been under my coach. I was happy being under my coach because I was learning. Yeah. But now, you know, the feeling of you're the one in charge. Yeah. It was the first time. And I was very excited. Even if I would struggle with jam and run out of class to run to gun coach, I still liked it because it was me now in charge. I was the one to make the decisions. So I coached them for 1 year. The following year, fortunately, Morris got an opportunity, and he was now living in Namilyango. So Namilyango never had a coach, and they began looking around, and I was right there, very present, very much willing. When they told me about the opportunity, and they were like, you have a contract to sign, I didn't even want to read the contract. All I wanted was to go and coach Namilyango. Because Morris had already put Namilyango at a certain level. Yeah, because everyone now knew that Namilyango plays basketball. And the beauty of it is I had moved with him through that whole journey, right from the time, because he came in when I was in S3, I was already coaching somehow. And actually I remember he came in because he had a young brother there. He actually plays, that young man plays for Riders, no Riders, plays for Riders, Asede. Yeah. He's popularly known as Acid, if you've heard that name also there, yeah. So he actually left Namilyango and went to Chibuli because he did so well, and Chibuli took him in his HSC. But that's the reason why Morris first came to Namilyango. So I learned everything from him. And by the time he was leaving, I could actually run whatever he had done, yeah. So I ran Namilyango from about 2016, 17, up to now. I'm still their coach up to now. And the beauty of it is that I was very successful. We always qualified for nationals until Fresh Diaries in Mbale, which was the last, that was 2019, I think, yeah, 2019. So by that time, I was a student at Makerere here, and once in a while, I would find the girls training, and I would go and inquire from Coach Albert, can I also come in here and there? I didn't know that one day I would be the coach of Makerere. Yeah, but when I was in high school, I always thought about it because I loved the game so much, and I wasn't playing it because my parents would not allow me to play it the way I wanted it, my guardians. I told one of my friends, it's called Gerard Abidravo, I told him, one day I want to become either a coach or an umpire. And he laughed and was like, yeah, maybe you can make it. So when I became the coach of Namilyango, he was the first man to tell me that, man, congratulations. As you said it, here it comes. And so when I reached Makerere, I didn't think I would be the coach at Makerere University because it was a university, and there are so many people with more experience than I do. But because of love of coaching the game, out of the experience I had got, I used to go and sit there, watch, and I'm like, okay, this is and remember I had also coached the girls of Hilton in my first year. So I knew how to handle girls, and I also knew how to handle boys because I had gotten both experiences. Yeah, so after a while in 2019, Makerere was going for university games in Chisui, and incidentally, Coach Albert was not around, so they needed. So I volunteered. Yeah, I volunteered. They were going with a coach, with you know, Makerere has 2 coaches for the boys and for the girls. So I saw that as an opportunity. So I went to the sports union, to the sports department, and I told them I want to volunteer. I just want to go there and volunteer and help where there is need. They gave me the opportunity. They were like, all right, you can do that. Well, the only thing I wanted was where I can sleep and my lunch and supper, which was very much available. So I also went in like any other coach, but it was my first time with all the pressure, and I wanted results. Fortunately, something happened. We played Kumba Marines. Kumba Lady Marines? Yes, we played in Kumba with Ekon. They are a very good player, national team now. And she was part of that team, and we won that game. When we won that game, I think for me, my fate in coaching had been sealed. This guy is going to be a coach. Because after winning that game, I realized that anything is possible. And I'm a man who believes in myself so much. So I saw an opportunity, and I realized it could work out. And I was like, okay, I wanted to coach high school, but even at the university, it's working. Though I didn't have much experience at that level, I realized I could do it because when I went there, and also as a player, I had seen those things happen. And also, I had a very good coach at the university. Because after my coach in high school, that is Maurice Otedro, I met Coach Baju. That's how we call him, but his name is Ronald Bajunga, yes. Yeah, so I met Coach Baju, that's Ronald Bajunga, and he could advise us here and there, Oje do this, Oje do that, Oje work out. You know, he could talk to us like a father. He was more like a father figure to us. So he really, really mentored me in terms of basketball. Maurice taught me how to play the game. Coach Baju taught me how to understand the game and how to analyze it and how to read it. So he made me understand it more and how to act around people when I'm playing it. He inculcated that discipline into us, that when you're doing this, the crowd is reacting this way, the fans are reacting this way, concentrate on this. So when I got the chance to go and do that in Kasubi, in Chisubi rather, it was very easy for me. And we came out, although we did not win, we didn't take the championship, we actually went to play 3rd place. We played against Uganda Matters, UMU. Yes, we played against UMU for 3rd place, and it was a mess. It was a mess because our hopes had been raised so high, me and my players, but I don't know if my players were on pressure, but I was on pressure because I was like, I have an opportunity to get a medal. I want this medal. But one thing I forgot is, when the girls were playing, I had Coach Baju by my side. Yeah, he was telling me, Oje, now do this, now do that. Now, when we went to play the next game, Coach Baju was not around. So, and I think he was finishing up the boys' game, and they were like, 3rd place, you can play the other side. So that's how we went there, and we missed the medal for that tournament. But from that day, out of that performance, good enough, I was being watched by other Makerere staff who positively recommended me. They said I could do the job. So when I came back, after that, 2019, 2020, I remained there as more of a volunteer to the university. I would come in, because Coach Albert was still not around, I remember. So I would help in here and there when the girls are available. I can coach them, I teach them what I know, and I would also consult Coach Baju. And then when Coach Albert left, I then got the chance to now become the head coach of Makerere. So that's how I moved in as a coach. That's how I found myself in this big position. I really felt like that. I felt like I don't have the experience more than compared to the other people who are there. Because if I see the coaches in Makerere, it looks like I could be amongst those with the least experience in the field of coaching. But maybe the other things I did, because I had a lot of zeal, I was so passionate, and I commit myself to something. So I believe probably it's my commitment to being there when I was volunteering that made them give me the chance to be there.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting journey. And I've seen the girls play, they're really improved, from the last time I saw them. And it's a good job that you're doing, and
thank you.
Congratulations to you. And we'll take another break right now, but when we return, we're going to talk about the status of university basketball. Because on the show, I've talked about grassroots basketball, we've talked about the league, and the cancellation of the same league, so we really haven't talked much about basketball that is happening on the campus. So when we come back from the break, we'll be talking about university basketball. What is the status? Where is it at right now? Is Uganda ready to take part in the competitions that are coming up on the international level when it comes to university basketball? This is the Slam Dunk Basketball Talk. My name is Emmanuel, and this is House of Talent Television. We will be right back.
Yeah. Of how long have we been there struggling before, but now we had more medals than them. So the key thing here is corporate companies please come aboard.
Yeah.
The government will do their part. They will also squeeze whatever they can to come through.
Yeah.
National councils will also keep on budgeting to see what they can do better on us. And also federations, all of them, basketball, football, whatever they come through. Let us have a fair share to everybody.
Yeah.
I know football gets the biggest share in Uganda. I don't know why, but because I know my small analysis is athletics and basketball right now, and netball. Those are the top 3 games in Uganda that have carried athletics, netball, basketball to continental and worldwide. We're doing so much.
Yeah.
So we need to also get a fair share to compete with football, which is getting $1 billion shillings plus.
Yeah.
We should be given that opportunity.
Welcome back to Slam Dunk Basketball Talk on House of Talent Television. My name is Emmanuel Ateng, also known as AT on the basketball court. Remember, this is House of Talent Television. You can catch us on our socials on YouTube, House of Talent TV Uganda, live stream, or you can go to our website at houseoftalentug.com. You can go to our Facebook, House of Talent Uganda. Catch the show live. Let us know what is happening. Drop us a message in the comment section. If you love the show, let us know. Share some love with us. If you want us to change something, let us also know about that. But in the studio with me today, I have a man who is called Osito Jacob, but he's known as OJ on the basketball court. That is his street name. He has been a coach for Namilyango. He has coached at Hilton, and right now he's coaching the Makerere University Sparks basketball team, and he's here to talk about his experience and also to talk about the status of sports in university in relation to basketball. Oja, before we went for the break, you were just telling us your journey of how you started off and ended up as a coach for Makerere University Sparks, and I believe you're doing a very good job with the girls. We just want to dive into the main topic right now. Obviously, you've played basketball at the university level.
Yeah, sure.
And from where I'm sitting, I think that basketball in the university has dropped, okay? Not only at Makerere University, but looking at it on a general scale, on a general picture. Because back in the day, we had a lot of university tournaments. You talk about, there was the University League at some point, there was the Floodlights at a certain point. We had games, East African games and all these things. And one could say that because of the lockdown, it slowed down a couple of things. But if memory serves right, the University League, then the Floodlights actually stopped way before the lockdown came. Yes, about 2017. Okay, and I think since then, basketball has really been on a decline. We've been focusing more on basketball in the league. Okay, so according to your perspective, what are some of those points that you can share with us that led to, let's say, I don't want to say the downfall of basketball, but the decline of basketball at the university level?
Well, on that issue, with the current situation, I am not the best person to answer that question, because I don't have the detailed information. As I told you, I am a rookie in this field. So surely, but at least because I was playing at the university level, I do have some information, at least out of observation. But putting the issue of lockdown and corona aside, I think that the reason why basketball is declining generally in universities, I think it's because of the kids who are coming into the universities. I think their kind of basketball is not the same or same kind of basketball like the one of the kids, of the guys who used to join basketball that time. So the talent that is in right now is, I could say it's raw compared to the talent that used to come in those days. We can't put out the aspect of the people who are joining university by then were mature men who knew what they wanted and what they were doing. They had the self-drive. But right now, the people who are joining university can only train when the coach is there. You can see how that is a big challenge. So for me to make sure that my team is ready, I have to be on the basketball court on the official training days and even other days that I'm not supposed to be there. Because if I don't show up, chances are high that many of them are not going to show up. But if I show up, even if I'm not supposed to be there, but then I just show up, they'll know that, oh, on such and such a day, coach passes by and he says on our free days we should shoot. So let me go and take a few shots. So that's what drives them. But compared to the days that you and I joined, maybe yours were much better than ours, but even me, the times I joined, when you wanted something, you would go and work for it. And I think that is one of the disciplines that I was taught from, maybe from high school, that when you want something, you go for it, you work for it, you push for it. You don't need someone else to push you to get what you want. And I think that is one of the things that we are lacking right now in and I don't know how that can even be worked upon, because surely if the kids are finishing high school when they are younger, whose fault is that? I don't think that's anyone's fault. But maybe if the coaches in high school could do the job, which is also very hard because high school needs a lot of time and yet they have the least time, by the way, compared to the university. So the aspect of the people who are joining in being younger is what is causing the biggest difference right now in the way basketball seems those days and now. But now when you talk about the aspect of the different leagues, I think I'm not the best person to answer that, because now that includes the issues of money, the sponsors, the institutions. I don't really know how much they operate to know that they want, because I really don't know why the Floodlights was cancelled. I'm one of those who played it. I think I played the last season of Floodlights, because I think that was 2017, I remember, with Makerere University. Yes, when I was there, I remember it was always played at night. That's why I think the name Floodlights was there. I remember we moved to Nkumba. We moved, in Entebbe, we moved to UCU, and it was something very interesting and very motivating. It would give us reason to work out even more. But now, without those games, of which I don't know the reason why they have scrapped them, I really don't know the technical issues, but without those games, you find that most of these students think that they're only working for December. The same mentality that we had in high school, that you only prepare for qualifiers, for nationals. Yes, you only prepare for nationals. And when it's done, second term, no sports, third term, no sports. That's the environment I came from. I don't know if it was different in your years.
It was the same thing.
So now for university sports, we see that nearly it's the same thing. Because right now, right now they're preparing for nationals. The league aside, they're preparing for nationals. And then after that, the following end of the following year, they're preparing for East African Games. I think that. So there is a lag in between that time. So a student who is not playing on the university team at the club level has nothing pushing them to work at that time, because they feel like they have a whole 9 months to work. And when you have a lot of time in your hands, you might think it's too much until it's actually too late. So that is the other thing that is also making it very hard for the game to develop very fast. The tournaments are very limited. There are very few. I mean, if you have only one tournament in a year, that means you're telling these guys to begin training like 2 months to the tournament. But if they had more than that, I believe the talent would improve faster, because these guys would actually work even more. And you very well know that most of the universities right now, if you are to have players who are to make the university team look good, you will not pick the junior players who are there. Yeah. You'll want to look for the most experienced, even the alumni if there is need, so that you don't get relegated, because that's also, you know, we also don't want to look bad. Coaches don't want to look bad. So they also want to survive, so they end up looking for those who already know. Because even when they're picking players from high school, they're also picking those who already know. And that's why you see that institutions that have, who have their teams that are doing much better, for them they get players straight from high school and they pick the best in terms of scholarships and sponsorship and all those other things. But which is also there in Makerere, although it's limited, I think, because I don't know much about it. I still don't have that much information about how the scholarship works. But we could also see it even that in high schools, the same issue is happening. The basketball in high school is now being dominated by, those days it was dominated by a few schools, because those few schools had the players and had the heart and they would work out. But right now it's dominated by a few schools, because they're the schools that put in the money, they give in the scholarships. I think the same thing applies to the universities. Those who put in more have better players and players who are more committed to the work. Now, those who put in less, generally all universities, those who put in less, you find them struggling, because we are convincing players to come and play, and then they are going to leave, but coach, I'm commuting, I have to go home early. Now, they are leaving their classes maybe at 4:30, and then practice starts at 5, and then at 6:30 they have to go. Now they have to compete with a student who has his time there. He knows after my training here, I'm just sleeping next here. I have my supper well prepared, no matter how late I leave. Even tomorrow I can come in the morning and I shoot, because I know I'll go back to where I sleep and I have breakfast. I think that's also another reason why basketball is being dominated by also a few universities. Because in my opinion, our basketball has been dominated by majorly UCU and Ndeje, because Ndeje is doing very well, Then the rest of the universities, especially the traditional universities like Makerere, Chambogo, Mbarara University, we seem to be struggling in those fields. And I would think that maybe it's because the other people are putting a lot of effort in that compared to us. That's my opinion, that's what I think. And it's making the whole thing look like, you know, it's going down. But it's a big challenge, which I don't know how we are going to go about it, because this is something that requires the management of the institutions, surely, Because me as a coach, no matter how much love I have for the game, there is no, I'm going to tell them, you know what, I can make these guys champions, put in the money or do ABCD. They will tell me, but this is how the process works, and I cannot change that. So actually, my option right now as a coach, because I'm in the position, and I'm not going to sit down, I'm like, the system is hard, so let us struggle, because we have been struggling. Me as a coach, what I think my best option is that, which is also a principle, is don't fight the system or don't try to change the system. Just find how it works and see how you can work best with it. That is something I heard from gentleman called Jim Rohn, if you watch those guys. So I am not going to fight the system, but I am looking for a way that I can use the system the way it is to bring positive results. So I put in extra time, I talk to these people, I give them reports as much as possible, so that they know that something is going on. Because one thing I believe in is that if you're doing something good, you'll be appreciated. And if you want something to be done, show them that you can handle it. Let them only come to support you, not them initiating the process. And that is one of the things that drives me. And people even ask me, but how comes for you? You're always there. Who pays you? Where do you get the money? They even tell you Makerere doesn't pay, but that is their opinion. Because when you're given a job somewhere, sure, that means they're supposed to pay you. But if they say Makerere doesn't pay, Makerere doesn't give money, maybe that is their experience. I don't know. Maybe if I experience it, I'll come back and tell you. But for now, I can't say that. For now, I believe that the resources might be limited, but the basketball court is there, the basketballs are there, the players are there. I think I also have a big role in motivating my players and talking to them and convincing them. That is what I'm doing right now. And I believe it's going to take me quite some time to produce the team I would want to see. Because now I am trying to see how I can work within the system the way it is. So it's going to take me time, because now that means I have to nurture junior players who are just coming in, which has not been the case, and it's not the case with other universities.
Yeah.
Other universities get players whom they know are going to actually do the job.
Yeah.
Now for us to get players, we get people who know how to play the game, not players. We get people who know how to play the game, and then we convince them to come and play for the university. Are you seeing how that is different?
Yeah.
Yeah. So by the time you convince someone, then they show up, and then you're telling them that we can't pay you, and the other side they are being paid.
Yeah.
It makes things very hard, because Makerere, I'm sure Makerere has students who are actually players in other clubs.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that? But even them coming back to play for the university, they'll ask you, what are you offering? Are you giving us transport? Are you giving us this? If it's there, which sometimes it's there, if it's there, they are willing to come. But if it's not there, you are going to, try and convince them. And of which, if you convince them and they said no, surely you wouldn't force them, because they will tell you, but the situation is hard, and you're also seeing it's hard, so you wouldn't push so hard.
Yeah.
But once in a while, we convince them and they come around, and we also want them to inspire the new ones. But the best option for us right now is to build those who are around. So for a university like Makerere to reach the level of UCU and DJ, it's going to be a long process, of which some people are not going to be patient enough to see that happen.
Yeah.
Others don't even believe it can happen. I see that. But personally, I think that is what can work for me. I believe that is what can make us look different. And for the other universities, I don't know what their coaches and the administration plans to do and what. But for me, on my side, and generally university sports, I think that's what I've given you, what makes us look like we are falling down. But I've also shown you how we plan to move up.
I was actually going to ask you how we can get up. We're going to take another break right now. I like what you're saying about university sports, and the perspective of why it's going down and how it can be rebuilt. Well, for our viewers out there, this is House of Talent Television, the Slam Dunk Basketball Talk. Remember, we're on our socials, and you can hit us up, drop us a message in our inbox, in our comment section. Let us know what you love about the show. If you have a question for OJ here, let us know, we'll ask him. But we'll take a break right now. We'll be right back. This is the Slam Dunk Basketball Talk on House of Talent Television.
A lot has been happening in the game of basketball. First of all, as Slam Dunk Basketball, we would like to first thank the Silverbacks for doing the nation proud and for making it to the first time in the quarterfinals of the Afro Basketball Championship down in Kigali. It was a tough task, and history was made when the Silverbacks, our boys, were able to beat on Nigeria.
Welcome back to Slam Dunk Basketball Talk on House of Talent Television. My name is Emmanuel Ateng, and with me in the studio today is Osiko Jacob, aka OJ, better known as OJ on pool court, actually, where we do pick up sometimes in the evening. And OJ has been taking us through his story, basically where he started from, how he ended up as the coach for the Makerere Sparks, that's the university team at Makerere. And he also told us about the status of sports, especially basketball in the universities, why it seems like it's on the decline, and what are some of the things that can be done to raise it back to the level where it's supposed to be. And having young people like this in those positions of coaching is a very good thing. So if you're out there, you're a young coach, you're a young player, and you want to get involved into the game of basketball and put it back to the level where it's supposed to be and take it higher, this is your opportunity. We're hearing very wise words coming in from the coach here. And I just want to backtrack a bit, back to that story you told us about being in school and not being allowed to play on the team, because I know that in most high schools actually there is always that divide between the guys in the higher classes and the guys in the lower classes.
Your elders.
Yeah, your elders. In some schools they actually say those two don't mix. They're like volatile, chemicals. And you were telling us a story about how you were not actually allowed to get onto the basketball court, and how did that feel? And what lessons can some of these kids pick up from it? Because I know that there are certain kids in primary school, even at the university level, who want to play, but they look at you guys now, the elders, and they're like, how do we get into, this part? So just take us through that situation you went through, and some of the lessons that these kids can learn and how they can be encouraged to get into the game of basketball.
Okay, thank you. Yes, with that, flashing back to my time in high school, because that's where things were hardest. The start is always the hardest part. As I told you, for me, I came from a primary school where basketball was not known as a sport. My primary school had a secondary section that had a basketball court, but we used not even cross there, so I really had no idea. I first saw basketball when I went to KPC. That was in my vacation of P7. That was in end of 2007. But when I was at Namilyango, I was with classmates who had come from primary schools that had the background of basketball, which is what I didn't have. What I had was height. For them, they had the skill. And you see, when you're at that level, it doesn't look like height works. It looks like it's the skill that counts. And they didn't see the skill in me. So actually, these guys are my good friends, but I'm sure they also did it unknowingly, having been senior ones. But they never gave me the chance to. I felt very, very disappointed one time when these guys were told, hey, the junior team, make a squad that is going to play. We're actually going to SMAC, that is Chisubi. We're going to SMAC, and they were saying, hey, you guys make a team. In my head, I knew I am going. And as I told you, going out was the most interesting thing when we were in high school. So I was in senior 2, and it was the first time. For us in Namilyango, it's rugby players who used to go out so oftenly. Basketballers, your opportunity would come once in a while. So the time had come where I was sure now I am going on merit. Little did I know that my friends on the other side are like, that tall guy cannot make it. So we prepare that weekend. I don't check the list assuming that I am going. I don't check. The following morning, I go to the dining hall. That was a Saturday morning, to see the list of those who are going, and my name is not there. I was heartbroken. I even actually, with all the anger, I still went to the bus with the hope that I would enter. I stood there, I saw them enter, and I saw them leave. I was in senior town, and in my head I was like, you know what? You guys have done this to me, but one day I'll be the one writing your names on that list. So after that, actually I remember that day I went back to play, because I enjoyed the game actually. Other than just going out, I enjoyed the throwing in, and it was actually my shooting started. I think that's the talent in me. The talent is just shooting. The other part of the dribbling, I think I don't have that. But I enjoy just throwing that ball, and it would just go in like automatically, and everyone would be wowed by that. They would see me and they're like, that guy can actually do it. But my teammates actually knew this guy can't bounce the ball, he can't dribble, and we need someone who can dribble. They didn't really think they needed someone who could do what I was doing. But then I also realized that that is the advantage they had over me. That is the skill they had come with from primary school that I didn't have. So I began working out on my own. I put in more effort. Unknowingly, out of, I don't know whether it was anger or excitement, but unknowingly, I put in a lot of effort in basketball when I was in high school. even with the challenges that come with, high school, you don't have that much time. And a school like Namilyango, when it's time for this, all of you go and do that. When it's time for the other, but all my free time, I would put it into basketball. So I learned the game, and these guys began accepting me. Each time they realize that when they are playing with me, I make the shots and the shots drop, and it's the shots that makes their team go out. They were like, I think we need this guy if we have to stay. So that's how my fellow junior players in high school by then allowed me into the circle of basketball. And because of my work ethics, in a year, the following year, I was one of their best. And I was more like their captain. And before I knew it, my senior 4, I was the captain of the school team until I left. So that's how I broke through in that field. But then I had another challenge of my parents, my guardians for this matter. They never wanted me to play basketball. And the reason, having been our background, I had a cousin who was playing rugby. He was really, really good. One time they went to play in a tournament in Chadondo, and he got a concussion. I don't really know what happened. I even didn't know what a concussion was until it happened to him. So they took him to the hospital, and I don't know what the school took care of and what they didn't. But then they called our guardians at home, and they were like, your boy is in the hospital, this and this happened, please come and check on him. And we have true African parents. They are very furious and very tough on certain things. So when they went there, now I was the one to be talked to. You see what we told you? You see what we told you about sports? Why would you go into these things? I don't want to hear anything concerning sports. And in my head I was like, but that was not me. That was rugby. I don't even play rugby. I don't even know it. So that is how I felt. But they had made up their minds, and they were like, you went to Namilyango to study. I was like, okay, I'll study, but when I get my time, I'll... So I studied, I did well, I passed, I went back to Namilyango. But then, actually, my first qualification for nationals, we had a challenge. We had never qualified for during my time there. I don't know the years before me, but I never had. But I can't assume I was the first, because the salaries were actually there. But the time I was there, they didn't qualify. That was 2018. And all my time there, we had never gone for nationals. And it was more like a dream. And now it was me driving the team. And I remember I had guys like Orenga Daniel. When we were in O-level, we were together in Namilyango there. Of all the guys who play basketball, he's still the only guy whom I see. The others have gone into other things. So in our senior 4, I led that team into qualifying for the first nationals. It was an exciting moment. It's like we had made it in life. We were so happy that actually I remember that time we were playing. It was at Seta High Green Campus, and Namagunga ladies were there, and now Namilyango and Namagunga. For us, we were always friends for all that time, and here we were playing basketball. So when we won, we did something that was very interesting. Our excitement made us make push-ups after the game instead of stretching, like to show them that we were the ones in charge. It was that interesting, and that's when I realized that actually we can go further than this. So the following years, unfortunately, Orenga joined Mengo SSC. That's why he was playing, and then I remained with guys who literally knew little, and now it was my responsibility to make sure that these guys can actually make us reach there. I used to tell my colleagues, my classmates, I used to tell them that you guys, one day, we shall also bring a trophy like rugby players bring trophies here. So I used to tell them that. But here we are senior 4, we have qualified for nationals. We were supposed to go for nationals in the holidays of first term. I thought what my guardians had done was a joke. That is when I realized they were not joking. Now I was the captain of this team, I led them here, and now we are going for something bigger. And then this was supposed to sign this document, and they're like, no. The sportsmaster calls my mzee, and he's like, no. I don't know if they even told the headmaster, I don't know, but things failed. I sat down, I was like, okay, next year things will be better. The following year, we again qualified, me being their captain. We had a chance. I was like, okay, this time round, I am going, I'm sure. And my teammates were like, this time round, we are all going. The gentleman again said no. I felt like giving up. Because I was like, now, this is what we work for the whole year. And now, it's only within first term. Why would he stop me from going for this thing? But I realized that he was seeing far ahead than I was seeing. for me, my thoughts were about basketball at that time and having the fun and going out with my friends. But for him, his worry was I might forget that I have books to read. Yeah, that was his worry, of which right now, after many years, when I reached campus, that's when I realized that, by the way, he was right. But still, I'm sure he also realized that, by the way, he was wrong to a certain extent. Because when I reached campus, he was like, he used to ask me, so how is that game of yours? He used to call it netball. And I used to tell him, no, Mzee, it's basketball. He's like, hey, it's okay. After 2 days, like, hey, so you're still playing netball? I'm like, no, it's basketball. So he later allowed me to play it. I think he realized that I could handle both. That's when he was like, okay, you do what you can. But I qualified with my team once, twice. The third time, actually the third time I remember we played, Orenga was my very good teammate, and he was a strong force. But we were playing our second final actually. In Orenga was not there. As I told you, when Orenga left, I had a vacuum. So I had to coach other guys in the lower class. Yeah. So that I can have a full team. By then, our sports master was called Mr. Kwaja. So Kwaja was a very interesting man. He loved the game. He was very enthusiastic. He would push. And that's why I also loved him so much, because he would make things happen. Yeah. So Orenga left, we had a vacuum, and I had kids who knew how to play the game, but they were not good enough. So it was now my responsibility to make sure that by the time we go for the next games, these guys can play. Yeah. So that's when I took now the coaching thing to another level. Now I told them, guys, every Saturday morning before we go to clean, we have to go and train. Every Sunday evening from 2, we train. When the coach is not there, we shall be there. And I was in charge. And the beautiful thing is that I am blessed, because when I say something, people always listen to me. Yeah. So these guys listened to me, and I think they also saw my vision. So we were on the same page. And we were very lucky that in my last year in high school, I managed to play with these guys. That was actually 2013, because I had to resit up because of playing basketball. One time I played it too much, I failed. But later I caught up. So my second last year in high school was my last year of playing high school basketball. Yeah, because you're given 6 years only to play. So by then I was in senior 5, but it was my last year. And I was like, God, I've always wanted to bring a trophy. I told these rugby players that I want them bring a trophy like they do. If it doesn't come now, then I'll miss it, because it's my last opportunity. Yeah. God blessed me. We played with those young men whom I had taught. I remember there were senior 3s. I was in senior 6. There were senior 3s and some senior 4s. We met St. Michael in the final. Those guys could dominate Mukono basketball. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Those guys were really on another level. So we meet these guys in the final, and yes, we were like, it ends today. And to me, it was my last opportunity to win a championship for that region. And yes, it came in. That year I won it, and I was very excited. I forgot about the aspect of, I stopped fighting to go for nationals. Yeah. I realized that no matter how hard I fight, Mzee said, man, I'm paying school fees for school to study, not for basketball. So I tuned my mind. I was like, you know what? If I keep on fighting that other side, I'll be wasting my own time. Let me concentrate on what I have. So I concentrated on what I had. We made it through, and we got the championship with the likes of Asede, of now Night Riders in Entebbe. Yeah, so my persistence as an individual is what helped me get to that level. Yeah, I kept on insisting and pushing. And interestingly, when I went to campus, the same challenges are faced, because when you reach the university, you find people who know the game, and they know it. And that means, for example, you know pool court. You go to pool court there and guys are playing. Yeah. You cannot just go there and start playing. You have to introduce yourself. Yeah. So I introduced myself. I went in there once, twice. I was shooting that shot. They were like, okay, this guy. What's your name? Moje. And it's my persistence and showing what I could do that made guys now believe in me. And I got into the system. And I was very much disciplined in that I would always do what I am supposed to do whenever I had the chance, yes. And I was always very humble. I think that's what has helped me even move to other positions. I always taught myself to be humble and persistent and resilient to so many things. Because people push their forces from every direction. Yeah. You can't handle this, you can't handle that. But still, I was persistent enough, I was patient enough. Yeah. And that's how, personally, I broke through even through the university.
That's Very interesting story. So for you who's out there, you're trying to get into the game of basketball and you feel like there are these forces that are pulling you left, right and center. You have your parents on one side, you have a team on the other side that then accept you. Persistence is key. Yeah, consistency is key. These are some of the things that some of these young players actually need to know. You need to keep pushing because the situation is never going to be favorable.
Sure.
Okay, there's always going to be ups and downs, but the ones who come out at the top are the ones who keep pushing. Yeah, we've come towards the end of the show, and I know that there are people out there watching you, especially your girls. I know that you have a tournament in November. That's like 3-on-3 tournament.
Yes.
So as we close the show, I just want you to look into that camera and just talk to the girls, encourage them. Also, anyone out there who's trying to get into the game of basketball, you being a coach and a player, just encourage them, to get into the game of basketball. For those who are trying to be good, just let them know from your perspective as a coach and a player.
Okay, let me start with my players. I strongly believe that we can go far. I believe it from right here.
Yeah.
And I want my players to also believe in it. I have drawn a program that if we follow very, very well, we shall not go wrong. So believe in me and believe in yourselves. Put in that extra effort, put in that extra energy. It pays off at the end of the day. To those who want to join the game, the truth is it's hard, it's tough, it's not going to be easy. But giving up is not an option.
Yeah.
Those who give up never become good players. Maybe they become commentators or what. But some of them, you can become a coach without playing. If you want to become a coach without playing, that's an option. But if you want to play the game, always in the personal effort as an individual. Always be open to learning. That's one thing that I've always done. I always want to learn from other people. Even right now from other coaches, I always want to learn from them. When I have a chance to bring them in to talk to them, I always ask them, Coach, how do you do this? How can I do that? And you shouldn't be in a position whereby you think you know more than, even if someone is younger than you and maybe you feel they have less experience, they can correct something you don't know. Someone one time came and told me, OJ, why do you shoot like this? I told them, but the things are entering. Then he told me, my coach told me to do like this. When I inquired from my coach was also saying, yes, that's how you're supposed to do it. So do not underestimate someone else, because the game is taught to you by everyone around you, your environment. Be humble, be consistent, and don't give up. People will doubt you, people will tell you you cannot do anything. But if you work hard, whether someone has talent or not, if you work hard, you will break through.
Yeah.
That's it for me.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, OJ. Reminds me of a quote from Kevin Durant. He says that hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard.
Indeed.
Yeah, so, and that is what you're saying. Well, I just want to thank you for being with us here on Slam Dunk Basketball Talk. I believe that, all the words of wisdom you've passed on, to your team, to everyone out there watching, to those who are trying to get into the game of basketball, and also other coaches have really been helpful. And I wish you all the best in your career,
Thank you
also
very much.
for the games that are coming up. And hopefully next time you'll come back here with a trophy and,
Yeah, I look forward to that.
We'll celebrate something like that. For you who's watching, thank you for being with us on House of Talent Television, the Slam Dunk Basketball Talk with me, Emmanuel. Catch us again next time where we will be dissecting the game of basketball, talking about different perspectives. Till next time, have a blessed day.
People at the moment are struggling to understand the older generation because times have changed. Technology has come in.
They've moved on.
Yes.
We're the ones sitting back and wondering, what is my child on to? TikTok has surpassed WhatsApp. The other one I call, I never call it Facebook, it's Bookface. Why are you on Bookface? Dad, it's Facebook.
Yes.
Me, I keep saying, I have a foot amongst the millennials.
Yeah.
And I understand the traditionalists.
Okay.
There's a song in the 60s, by the way, and the 90s, 70s, where they're like, parents don't understand. Yes. Remember Prince? Yes. Prince.
An army of sheep led by a lion will beat an army of lions led by a sheep. That's a fake. Yeah. So let's be very honest about this thing and really understand that you need to understand where you lie and where you fall. So it's very important for us to understand that leadership has to be definitive. You can't be laissez-faire. It has to be definitive. You have to be strong, just like a lion. You know, when a lion meets an elephant or a buffalo or whatever, the buffalo and all these animals run away. And yet, by the way, they are stronger than the lion. They are heavier than the lion. They are more intelligent than the lion. They are taller than the lion. They run away. The lion, because of its attitude, it sees lunch. That is a leader.
Mr. Tony, thank you very much for coming to the CEO bench. And I want to ask you, so if you were elected the President of the Republic of Uganda today, what would be your first State of Nation address? Now, as you look into the camera and close the show.
I think my first State of the Nation address would first of all to... I think I'll just close it down.
COVID-19 has tested our hope and faith as individuals, families, and the country at large. Besides destroying many aspects of our lives, the novel coronavirus has also affected our human rights in many ways. You and the Law, the COVID edition, is a 30-minute weekly television program that focuses on the impact of COVID-19 on human rights in Uganda. The program engages experts to explain the importance of rights-based approaches to the success of any public health response to ensure the respect, protection, and fulfillment of human rights amidst the challenges presented by COVID-19. You and the Law, the television program, brought to you by Legal Hub Uganda, taking the law to the last mile in proud association with I4C Africa Hub and House of Talent Television.
I'll always remember the first lockdown, the fact that both the state and the citizens were struggling with what to do and what not to do. And I think for me, that was the first moment that I felt the impact of COVID-19 on women, because I remember in the first couple of weeks, all the helplines were co-opted for reporting COVID-19 cases. Yes. So immediately, the hotlines that we usually used for reporting cases of violence were switched off, and they were used for reporting instead infections. That was the first issue. So that means women and children had nowhere to report cases from. So for me, that was the first in terms of when we're responding. But also I remember in the first set of guidelines, we did not have specific consideration, gender considerations.
Hello viewers, welcome to yet another episode of You and the Law, the COVID edition, here on House of Talent Television. My name is Jonathan Ochom, your host. In this edition of You and the Law, we've been discussing COVID-19 and how it has affected different human rights in the country. We've talked about human rights as a concept, we've discussed access to justice, we've discussed labor rights, we've discussed employment and various other human rights that have been affected by the pandemic. Today we sit down to reflect on how COVID-19 has affected a significant section of our community, and that is women. How has COVID-19 affected women's rights? With me in studio is Ms. Mercy Grace Munduru. Mercy is the head governess and action in Uganda. She's a human rights lawyer and a feminist. Mercy, you're welcome to You and the Law.
I'm very honored to be here.
How have you been?
I've been well, and I'm very, very pleased to be here to be part of this very great conversation.
We're very happy to have you. Mercy, I know you do a bit of work at Action Aid. Could you maybe just drop in a little bit of light about the kind of work that you do at Action Aid?
Right, at Action Aid, I work as the head of governance as a unit, but then Action Aid broadly works around issues of women's rights, climate justice, and we also have a specific focus on young people. But in all of this, we align our thematic areas to governance. So we look at the governance element in all those thematic areas, and we ensure that a lot of the work that we do focuses on, you know, the rights and the well-being of people in rural areas, especially young people, and with a very specific and deliberate effort on young women. So that's broadly what we do. And also Action Aid currently runs the domestic violence shelters all across the country. Okay. So we do receive cases of GBV and do a lot of work around response, prevention, and advocacy around GBV.
So clearly I see already the linkage between your work and protection of women's rights. So we normally start the show with you know, a quick dive into the conceptual issues, because we talk about women's rights. Yeah. It's always important to understand, actually. The temptation is always to start with the law, but I think it's important to first formulate the idea.
Yes.
When we talk about women's rights, what exactly are we talking about?
So when we talk about women's rights, we have to look at women as a constituency. And I think most of the time why there's a lot of focus on women is because of the vulnerabilities. Okay. And these vulnerabilities have a background, and this background is in the social norms, especially, you know, these societal constructed norms that determine who a woman is, what a woman should do, and how they should do it. So at the end of the day, you realize that this then creates inequalities in our community. And so as a result, all across the world, there's been a recognition that women are affected disappropriately because there are already these very underlying beliefs and, you know, societal notions that put women at a certain level compared to their male counterparts. So that is why there are specific rights that are designed, that have been, you know, called women's rights, that are at the heart of every country's policy and legal framework, to ensure that there are specific women-related issues that are addressed within existing human rights frameworks, which I know on this show you've previously spoken about. So there are specific rights that just relate to women because of, you know, these inequalities that I spoke about, that perhaps we'll discuss later in the show, that are now clustered to be called women's rights. They appear disappropriately to women.
So from what you're saying, the idea is to sort of equalize things?
Exactly. Actually, it's around equity. The fact that already we have human rights. So with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, there are broader human rights that really apply to any human being, regardless of if they're men or they're women. But overall, you can look at women as a constituency of their own, and you realize that there are certain things that are unique to women. Okay. There are certain rights, reproductive or otherwise, that are very unique to women. So out of that bigger framework of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, there are now also other international laws that are specific to women, that are meant to address inequalities, that are meant to address, you know, discrimination, and the fact that, you know, women are excluded from a lot of processes. So there are particular laws, both international and national, that specifically exist to address inequalities as a result of the norms that I was talking to you about earlier.
Okay, so you've started by sort of taking us a little bit into the legal aspects now,
Yes.
and I thought maybe we'd then take on from there. So when you talk about these rights, what law, makes it mandatory for us to protect, women's rights? Do we have a framework at the national, international, regional level that can enable me say that I'm speaking about women's rights because I have the backing of this law?
Yes. So as I said broadly, for human rights, of course, we know that the one legal framework that we look to, where all the other laws are derived, is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Yes.
Now, within there have been other laws that have emerged that are specific to different groups of people, and I'll just restrict myself to women. So at international level there are quite many, so but the most pronounced is CEDAW, which really focuses on elimination of all forms of discrimination against women. That is what it stands for. So within this law there is a framework provided for what women's rights should look like, what countries that subscribe to these international laws should ensure that exist within their national laws. So if you look at Uganda as a country, as a signatory to these international covenants, it is within Uganda's mandate to now domesticate or to pull elements of this law and put them in their national law, because international laws have an international application.
Yes.
So for an international law to be applicable in our context as Uganda, Uganda has to draft a law that takes into consideration components of this law. So within the country, of course, we have the constitution that is very specific on issues of women's rights. The constitution makes specific mention to the fact that women are vulnerable and that women, along with other vulnerable groups, should be protected. And the law specifically also provides for affirmative action, very innovative ways through which women can be elevated to the same level, because we know that because of these social norms, many women are excluded from decision making, many women excluded from participation in the public sphere. So the constitution is very specific in terms of what should happen, but also the constitution gives powers to the parliament to enact other laws that stream from the constitution that are very specific to these vulnerable groups, and specifically women. So from that we have very many pieces of legislation that entail issues around women's rights. So I'll give an example of some of these laws. We have the Domestic Violence Act that specifically addresses, domestic violence.
Big issue.
Exactly. So we also have the Female Genital Mutilation Act that specifically addresses female genital mutilation. You realize that there are certain aspects of women's rights that are unique to women based on these negative norms. So for example, female circumcision is not something that applies to men. So that is why the law is very specific.
At least disagree.
At least it will not have the word female in it. Yes, so we have the Female Genital Mutilation Act. We also have the Trafficking in Persons, where they're looking at certain practices within the framework of trafficking that have specific application to women. And so you find that these small pieces of legislation address specific areas of women's rights, but also within other legal frameworks, other laws, you realize that there are specific aspects that promote the rights of women, that promote equality, that promote non-discrimination, that promote elements of equity. Equity is really, you're not striving to make people equal, but that you're creating a platform that raises them to a certain level where they can fairly participate with other groups. Yes.
Well, you've sort of given it as a very big explanation of the different laws that touch on the protect women's rights. But then we need to understand the obligations that fall, because when we talk about protecting women's rights, whose duty is it? Who can I hold accountable to ensure that these rights are actually protected? Many people talk about government, but what could be that mandate of the government in the context of protecting women's rights? And even us as individuals, as men, as women, what do we need to do? Or what does the law tell us to do? Maybe we could start from the government.
Yes, ultimately, of course, protecting the rights of citizens is a mandate of the state.
Yes.
So by citizens, we include women. And the law specifically puts this burden on the state because the state is the overall governing body of all the citizens of Uganda.
Yeah.
So it has to protect and promote these rights. It's not enough to have them in the book. The state has to take all steps necessary to ensure that the women to whom these rights accrue enjoy them fully and enjoy them in an environment that is enabling. So that is why the state has to make commitments to build the institutions that will promote these rights, to ensure that they allocate resources to these institutions, that where rights have been violated, people can go for protection, people can go and reclaim their rights. So that the overall mandate lies with the state. But of course, the responsibility to also ensure that women enjoy their rights rests with each one of us, including I as a woman and every member of the society, to ensure that the women, that first of all we recognize that these are vulnerable people, and also to ensure that we create equal opportunities for these groups of persons. So whether it's the girl child, whether it's the women in the workspace or in the informal sector, or whether it's disabled women, or whether it is, the girl children that are prone to abuse in institutions of learning, we must ensure at all times that we are creating opportunities for them to participate, for them to, express themselves and make decisions at all levels. And in Uganda, of course, we have institutions that have particularly been set up to promote these rights.
Okay.
We have a whole Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development.
Yes.
Within there, of course, there are so many other, smaller, vulnerable groups whose rights are being protected and whose interests are vested within that ministry. We also have the Equal Opportunities Commission that really oversees issues of equality and ensuring that, all of us are enjoying equal rights at different levels, whether at government institution or even non-governmental institutions as well. We also, of course, know that civil society organizations partner with the state to ensure that they enhance available structures that promote these rights. So I spoke earlier about, the fact that ActionAid is running shelters. They are running it in collaboration with the Ministry of Gender. So that means those shelters are places where the citizens whose rights have been violated can run and can get justice as well. Of course, the courts, the parliament, these are all, government institutions that have the mandate to ensure that these rights are fully enjoyed and also are promoted as well.
Okay. You mentioned earlier on about affirmative action.
Yes.
And sort of tickled my mind because there have been people arguing that perhaps where we've reached now, it has outlived its usefulness. I don't know what you would, think along those lines as the person who's working in this space for a period of time.
I've had those conversations before. Would I say that we have achieved when it comes to gender equality? No, we're far from there.
Oh.
Yes, we're far from there. The more we evolve, the more we are waking up to the reality of the inequalities that exist all around us. And these inequalities, by the way, do not just apply because you're educated or you're not educated. You live with these inequalities all your life. I can tell you as a lawyer, as a person who has worked in civil society promoting women's rights, I find myself in spaces of inequality. I find myself in spaces where, you can be discriminated against for one reason or the other. So we live through these inequalities all our lives. The issue is that once we strip ourselves off of affirmative action, then we will be, going 10 steps backwards from where we are from. Because as we speak, even now, there are so many inequalities that exist.
Okay.
The opportunities that a girl in a rural area has cannot compare to a girl in an urban setting. There are so many layers of inequality that still exist, that are even increasing now, given the circumstances that we experience. So in my opinion, we still need the affirmative action in our law. Yeah.
That's a good point to go for a break. Viewers, you're watching You and the Law, the COVID edition, and today we're discussing the impacts of COVID-19 on women's rights. With us in studio is Mercy Grace Munduru from FIDA Uganda, a member of FIDA Uganda, and currently working with ActionAid Uganda. Let's go for a break. We'll be right back.
When it comes to the law, we basically live the law, on a day-to-day basis, whether it is in your bedroom, there is a law that governs it. If you're married, for example, even if you're single, there could be something touching on the law, because you might be in your bedroom with an underage girl, or you might be with another person's wife. You know, all the things are the law. You know.
If you're a human being, you have rights. Those rights are called human rights. They are examples: the right to health, the right to freedom from torture, that underscores human dignity. Freedom from slavery. You're not supposed to be someone's slave.
If you look at our penal code, it sets out another marriage laws. It sets out the persons who can marry and those who cannot marry, right? For example, you can't marry your close relatives. You know, if you did, you'd be committing a crime.
The state is not supposed to tell you who to worship, how to worship, how many times in a day. No, you have a right to work. A right to work. You have freedom of association.
Cohabitation for whatever period of time does not make you husband and wife, right? And that is why we emphasize to people that when the relationship is still hot, you know, you must ensure that you do what? Marry.
Yes.
You know?
For human rights to be respected, protected, and fulfilled, relevant government programs must actually work. Medicine should reach hospitals. Oxygen should be there. Health workers should have gloves. Teachers should be present. Now they are mostly absent, and they have left the profession, a good number of them. They are into trading. So things must work. If things don't work, human rights are not respected, are not protected, and are not fulfilled.
COVID-19 has tested our hope and faith as individuals, families, and the country at large. Besides destroying many aspects of our lives, the novel coronavirus has also affected our human rights in many ways. You and the Law, the COVID edition, is a 30-minute weekly television program that focuses on the impact of COVID-19 on human rights in Uganda. The program engages experts to explain the importance of rights-based approaches to the success of any public health response to ensure the respect, protection, and fulfillment of human rights amidst the challenges presented by COVID-19. You and the Law, the television program, brought to you by Legal Hub Uganda, taking the law to the last mile in proud association with I4C Africa Hub and House of Talent Television, coming soon.
Welcome back. This is You and the Law, the COVID edition here on House of Talent Television. My name is Jonathan Ochom, your host, and today we have Ms. Mercy Munduru from Action Aid Uganda to discuss with us the effects of COVID-19 on women's rights. Mercy, welcome back from the break.
Thank you.
So before we went for the break, you gave us a good understanding of women's rights, the law around it, as well as a run through the different obligations that exist in order to ensure women's rights. So then 2019, late 2019, 2020 up to now, the monster called COVID-19 came in and, you know, interrupted our lives and changed so many things about us. And then along the way, clearly, our rights, you know, got compromised. And today we're here to discuss from a women's rights angle how COVID-19 actually impacted women's rights. You know, we borrow from what government did, the interventions that were in place, and overall to make a conclusion on how this has been the case. So I would like to pick your mind on that. How has COVID-19 impacted on women's rights?
Ultimately, COVID-19 did affect all of us. I must start with that. The fact that, you know, the ravaging impact was on our society. We were met with a pandemic that we were never prepared for. So I can understand that we all grappled, you know, to fit into the new normal. I'll always remember the first lockdown, the fact that both the state and the citizens were struggling with what to do and what not to do. And I think for me, that was the first moment that I felt the impact of COVID-19 on women, because I remember in the first couple of weeks, all the helplines were co-opted for reporting COVID-19 cases. So immediately, the hotlines that we usually used for reporting cases of violence were switched off, and they were used for reporting instead infections. That was the first issue. So that means women and children had nowhere to report cases from. So for me, that was the first in terms of when we're responding. But also I remember in the first set of guidelines, we did not have specific consideration, gender considerations, looking at women's unique maternal functions. So women that were expecting struggled in the first, a few weeks of the lockdown to access health facilities because of the strict nature of the restrictions, but also the fact that the security forces were struggling in terms of enforcement. How much do we enforce? The requirements for getting permission to access a health facility were quite heavy. You had to go to an RDC's office and all of that. And there are certain functions of women that cannot wait, that are not time bound. So that was that had a very negative impact on the reproductive rights of women. But broadly, because the way we live changed, there was a very disappropriate impact on women and girls in homesteads. One, we were locked down, so the families had more people than they usually do. And we know before COVID already, we have society that has set out gender roles in our homes. There are certain elements of a woman's life that determine if they are good women or not. These roles are assigned by society, and as you grow, you find yourself fitting within a certain role.
Set up,
And the way these roles are structured, you find women and girls perform similar roles. So what my mother does, I also end up doing this. So this increased the care burden on women. Some of these roles, apart from the domestic chores, is also caring for the sick. We know that this squarely really rests on women. The bigger percentage of women handle care for the elderly, for the sick, and so this really rests on them, and the girls as well. So because of these pressures, you realize that there was a distortion in roles within homestead, and it fueled a lot of violence. The number of domestic violence cases spiked, and I can say this from a point of authority because we respond to cases of GBV. So I can tell you the number of gender-based violence cases went up. Beyond that, there were very many cases of sexual violence, especially incest in homes. Very many young girls that we rescued had survived incest. They were survivors of incest within families, by caretakers, by boys in the homes, by their parents. So this in itself made homes a risky venture for young children who were out of school and are also in the home. But also we saw that the reality of the majority of women working in the informal sectors was visible. So Ugandans for the first time realized who really runs the informal economy. So when they were talking about markets and who runs them, who does work in the markets, majority of those were women who now had to be locked up in the markets, at the same time also provide for their families. And in this process, most of them were exposed to sexual violence because they were sharing spaces and sanitary facilities with men in most of the markets. But also just the risk of disease, sleeping in that open space and being able to, fend for a living was a challenge. I remember one case where a lady was working in the market, and then she would send a rider to deliver food for her children. And then the rider defiled the daughter, the eldest daughter, who was 8 years old, an 8-year-old. So the risks associated with that was also immense. And of course, the fact that there was a limitation in the number of people that could stay in the markets meant that there was a significant proportion of women that could not now, earn from what they were doing in the markets and selling of food commodities and all of that. But also the manner in which enforcement was done left a lot of injury on women. I think you saw on the media so many cases where the security forces used unnecessary force on women who were coming to the streets to sell food and do all of this. So the already existing inequalities were further deepened because of the new normal. Not that this thing started because of COVID, but they were deepened in that process. But also, most importantly, the digital divide, especially in young people. We know that, of course, schools were disrupted. They're still disrupted up to now. And there were now alternatives to learning that emerged due to COVID-19. So many children moved from physical learning to, online learning. And you realize that many children, especially in the rural areas, already could not access learning. This is for both boys and girls. But beyond this, girls were affected differently. Why? Because they're taken up doing household work. They're taken up doing care work with their mothers. So at the end of the day, you realize that girls cannot make time for studies. Girls cannot even access the digital space to learn. But also beyond this, as a coping mechanism, we know many families that co-opted their girls for marriage just because it was a means for survival in that moment. So, I mean, children have lost a significant amount of time at home, and many parents believe that, this situation may not change, so why don't I just give my daughter away to marriage? That was part of, that disappropriate impact. So you can see that the impact was both economic, social, but also political, because we had elections while we were battling with the pandemic as well. And how many women could give up what they were doing to participate in the election circle? How many women could leave the household work and go and vote, for example? So that in itself was an issue. But also with the clampdown on some of the NGOs, and especially women's rights NGOs, it was very difficult for women to participate effectively during this period. And most of this was done in the pretext of, trying to enforce restrictions around COVID-19 and social distancing and all of that. So most women couldn't participate.
Mercy, you've given us like a 360-degree analysis of how COVID has affected women's rights, literally from all angles. But I'm curious to know, government put in place a couple of measures, to try to protect the spread of this virus. And I'm wondering, are there those that you think, what's your view of those from the angle of protecting women's rights, the different COVID measures that were put in place? How did those affect or enhance women's rights during the pandemic?
I think as a country, largely we struggle with gender mainstreaming already. It's already a struggle. And so it's no wonder when they were putting together the COVID task force, there was not much consideration given to the gender dimensions. I remember some of the pronouncements by key government officials that were saying that domestic violence is not a big issue.
Sad.
And yet within the first month, there was a spike in the number of cases police was reporting of death from domestic violence. So for me, first of all, not having a gender mainstreaming perspective at the point of, bringing together the task force, both at national level, but also at regional level, that was already a problem. But also the amount of resources that were committed to responding to, the gender-based violence related issues, or just an engendered response. When you're measuring vulnerabilities, when you're measuring the impact of this on different groups of people, how much investment are you making to ensure that the vulnerable groups, especially women, are covered? But also, when it comes to even the measures that around awareness on COVID, not many of the messages, save for the ones by civil society, were targeted to address some of these inequalities that are deepened by COVID-19. And for me, I felt like that was a very big problem. Even the briefs to our security forces, for them to be able to appreciate that, how they enforce, because within the enforcement guidelines, I know that, for example, a male officer cannot handle or arrest a woman. But we saw this happening on the media. And that in itself goes to show that we did not prepare enough to respond to the challenges that would be presented by COVID-19, but also in the workforce. you know, having to issue guidelines that preserve or protect the rights of women in the formal and informal space, because we know many organizations and groups laid off people due to the impact of COVID-19, but we also know again that this affected women a lot more, because in the leisure and tourism industry, we know most of the informal workers that work there are women and girls, and so we saw how that really affected them in that process. So I still believe that we could have done better, but even beyond that, having come out of the first lockdown, in preparing relief packages, especially economic relief to entrepreneurs, we should have mainstream gender in those interventions, because you know that the group of women affected from the informal sector is huge. So as you prepare economic relief, especially to, you know, the informal sector and the business sector broadly, you should specifically and deliberately target women in those spaces, because you know that majority of those affected are them.
Someone could think if you're not putting a tough burden on the government, but it's not my assessment to make. Let's
well,
go for
they
a
made
break.
a commitment. They made a commitment to mainstream gender.
Yes, you're watching You and the Law, the COVID edition here on House of Talent Television. Today we're discussing the effects of COVID-19 on women's rights, and with me in studio is Miss Mercy Grace Munduru from Action Aid Uganda. Let's go for a quick break. We'll be right back. Mercy, welcome back to our last segment
Thank you.
of the show.
Thank you.
So we ended at a point when we were discussing the sort of what government did, and you painted a fairly sad picture, or perhaps a very sad picture actually, of the situation. And I would want to know, don't you think there are a couple of things that could have worked well, that you think maybe government did well, that intervention in as far as protecting women's rights is concerned, and the positive, you know, that we can report?
Well, because you have asked, I will now. That was a joke. I think there were also, there were some wins, I must say, in certain areas. I remember after advocacy, government did take up civil society and their placement within the different task forces, from the national to the regional, which I think was very important in terms of also mainstreaming interventions and merging them with some of the work that development partners are doing. I know that very many civil society organizations had to reprogram around COVID-19 as well, but before, you know, that level of advocacy, it was difficult to channel those interventions to the communities. So I think giving that relief and also ensuring that we had passes to run, you know, especially response actions, was very important, and I appreciate that from the state. I also know that some major resources were committed to communities, and some of the vulnerable groups that were targeted were women within families, both in the urban and rural areas, and for that I would like to commend the state, and also the fact that the police was able to continuously give an update on the issue of gender-based violence. A lot of the information we're able to receive up to that point came from the police, who were in direct contact with different sections of society when civil society could not function. So I believe them being able to highlight that as part of what they were observing also is what led to heightened advocacy around issues of women's rights and COVID. So yeah.
Okay. It's always important to give credit, like you said. Mercy, COVID is here now. We have no idea when it will go. Worst case scenario, we could get another pandemic or any other disaster like this. say in 5, 10 years, we hope it doesn't happen, but worst case scenario, it could happen. And I'm sort of anxious to know, what lessons do we learn from COVID, from the COVID response now, and how would we protect women's rights if we got ourselves in a similar situation? What are those pointers you know give to government of Uganda? Say, okay, to protect women's rights under extraordinary times like this, these are my 1, 2, 3, 4 bullet points that you think we should think about in future if we have to continue dealing.
I must say we're in that future. Right now we're still battling COVID-19.
Yes,
the
true.
fact that we're anticipating a third wave, but we're also still seeing cases of COVID, especially the second wave in our country. So I still think we're partially still in that COVID mode. But ultimately, from the first lockdown to now, there are so many lessons for us to learn.
Yes.
The first is for us to appreciate the fact that these inequalities do exist.
Yeah.
And that unique situations like COVID-19 pandemic just deepen these inequalities. And COVID-19 for me also was a way to measure how much we've done as people interested in promoting women's rights. How far have we gone in curing this issue? Because the way it manifested in these uncertain times was quite different from what we ordinarily already know. Many of us are always out of our homes, so we do not pay attention to so many things. But the fact that people were living in the same space and we started to see different manifestations was presented the reality of inequality, the reality of the unpaid care work that we always speak about in different spaces. So I think, one, we need to have a proper policy around pandemics and especially pandemic response, because what this does is it then streamlines the different actions by the state, by the non-state actors, by the private sector, for us to be able to prepare and respond when we are caught in a situation where we must perhaps implement certain restrictions. Because if we do not have guidelines, we will implement the restrictions, but we may end up contributing to the problem.
Yes.
There's a bigger problem beyond COVID-19 and responding to it. You may respond to COVID-19 and end up seeing an upsurge in the number of deaths from domestic violence. So it's very important for us to have that national level policy guideline, because this is not the first pandemic. We may be battling COVID-19, but there could be another pandemic more serious than COVID-19, God forbid, but it could happen. But if it does, then what happens? What have we learned in terms of policy? That policy would guide our actions, and it would guide what the state can do and what steps they should take, right from assembling a task force to the kind of interventions, to the kind of resources that are allocated. But also beyond this, one of the key learnings is the issue of gender-responsive public service. How accessible are services?
That's a good concept.
Exactly. How accessible are services? Health, education, and all of this, how accessible are they? What are the inequalities that exist?
In those sectors.
Because there are certain communities where people could not access health facilities. Remember, you cannot use bikes, you cannot drive cars, and you're stuck. The nearest health center to you is kilometers away. So what happens? These are the realities. And in the condition in which a woman could be, how would they then access such a service?
Even if they're allowed bikes, how many women can ride bikes?
Exactly. Exactly. So the issue of gender-responsive public service is very important. We must ensure that in the services, the public services that the state provides, that we're gender-responsive. That is very, very important. And it's a key development indicator, by the way, because the majority of our population is women. And you cannot speak about development when the majority of your population is not empowered or protected. For me, that is wrong. And then we must address the issue of digital divide. What is the alternative to physical learning? Which is a big question. We've not answered it. Because as I speak now, we are not yet seeing children back to school. And this could continue because we're going to open in phases as a country, at least from the last... Well, exactly. Those are the divides I'm talking about. So those inequalities exist. What impact that this have on us as a country? What are the alternatives? What are the alternative strategies that will encourage female participation? Even if you have online is there, but how many people access TVs? And even where TV is being accessed, how many girls in homesteads have time to sit and learn if it's not deliberate. You realize most of them cannot. Why? Because they are burdened by care work.
Laundry.
We must invest in awareness creation around issues of gender. I know it's a topic that people run away. When you tell people you're a feminist or a promoter of women's rights, they look at you like a problem. But these are realities. That is why we are where we are. That is why people are poor. This is the issue. Because if as a woman I spend my productive hours doing unpaid care work, then I am a driver of poverty in your home. Yeah. So those are conversations we must start having. Because if we become conscious about these facts, that means within the homestead we're able to enable our girls have time to study. We're able to reduce the burden of women by sharing roles at home and ensuring that the burden is not entirely resting on one. But also we need to enhance our GBV response, because as I speak we have only about 13 shelters. And how many districts do we have? Over 130.
Yeah, and still counting.
And still counting. And still counting, over 100. But you have 13 GBV shelters. So
by the
what
government of
happens?
Uganda, or those are
Well, right now they're being run by the development agencies, though in partnership with the state. But the funding for it really is from development partners.
13.
Yes, they're 13. So that is a big problem, right? That's a very big problem, because that means in very many places where these issues are happening, women do not have where to go. The police, the way it is structured now, does not have space to shelter women who have been abused or children who have been abused in their homes. I spoke about incest. When a child has been abused in their home, you're supposed to find alternative space. But now if a police station does not have that, in Arua, a story happened where a child was rescued during COVID, had run away from home, and so they brought this child to a particular police post, and they didn't have where to keep the child. So there was a vehicle outside where they tried to cushion, the child as they look for alternative space. The child escaped and was discovered dead. So that is just one of the examples that sometimes children run away from abuse, but they don't have where to go. So we must invest in response mechanisms so that women have where to go, because ultimately for me women are a development issue that we cannot speak about reducing poverty, we cannot speak about progress as a country when the majority of your population remains disempowered or remains at that level at which they are uneducated, poor, and they cannot fend for their families. For me that is a big question. So it must be at the heart of the work of government, but also development partners as well. Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at you and, visualizing a future Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development.
I can be a serious one. And by the way, that ministry, if you look at how much resource is being allocated to the different ministries, it's among the least. What does that show you about our priorities?
Mercy, so many issues to talk, perhaps not so much time to dissect all of them. But I think for viewers, the key takeaways from Mercy today is that protecting women's rights is our core responsibility. It belongs to government, but also to us as individuals. But more importantly, for the government of Uganda, you have the mandate of investing in putting in place the necessary infrastructure to protect women's rights. Is it putting in place GBV shelters? Is it about putting in place good laws and everything? All those things that Mercy has explained today highlight the need for government to be cautious, gender responsive, and to think about vulnerable sections of our community when are designing interventions in tough times like this we find ourselves in because of COVID-19. With that, viewers, we've come to the end of today's episode of You and the Law, the COVID edition. I've been your host, Jonathan Ochom. Next week, we'll discuss yet another human right which has been affected by the virus. For now, it's a bye.
now I'm going to talk to my people.
Yes.
Because I like what, as we are saying, vive la France, vive la francophonie. So, le leadership, c'est quoi? Le leadership, ce n'est pas le fait d'intimider les gens ou bien de dominer les gens, non. Le leadership, c'est le fait d'aider les gens à suivre le bon chemin. Parce qu'il y a des gens qui sont là, ils ne savent même pas par quel chemin emprunter. Il y a des gens qui ont même étudié, mais ils ne savent pas quel business ils doivent faire. Maintenant, l'idée, quand tu rencontres une personne pareille, tu vas l'orienter. Non, tu peux faire mieux que ce que tu fais. Non, la peur que tu as là ne va pas te tuer. Tu peux aller au-delà de la peur. L'idée, c'est comme j'avais donné l'exemple, allow me to go a little bit deeper. J'avais donné l'exemple ici en français, en anglais, pardon. La vidéo que j'avais vue à propos de chiens, il y avait un groupe de chiens au niveau du Canada et il n'y avait pas de l'eau. Pourquoi? Parce qu'il y avait, la neige, il n'y avait pas la place pour que tout le monde puisse boire de l'eau. Mais il y avait seulement une petite place pour le boss que je vais appeler. Et il ne voulait pas que les autres puissent venir boire de l'eau, comme il était boss. Il intimidait les gens. Mais il y avait un petit garçon, un petit chien qui était là à côté. Il a eu l'idée de briser la glace, là où il y avait pas, parce que l'eau était en dessous et il n'y avait pas moyen de boire. Mais le petit chien a brisé et tout le monde a vu ce qu'il faisait. Ils sont venus, ils ont commencé à briser et tous ont profité avec l'eau potable. Et le boss était laissé comme un vaurien. Personne ne le faisait confiance parce qu'il n'était pas là pour les aider. Il était là simplement pour le faire peur, les intimider. Mais l'idée, c'est quelqu'un qui est là pour aider quelqu'un à avancer jusqu'à son destin, à sa vision. Parce que nous avons tous nos visions, mais c'est la peur des fois qui nous arrête. Merci mon ami.
Let me take this opportunity. I know everybody is watching me. My fellow Ugandans, my fellow youth, my fellow brothers and sisters, please, everything is possible. You can never regret before you die. I know people, they have degrees, masters and what, but they are looking for something to do. They are waiting for, they are applying for job opportunities. But you can create your own project. You can create it. You understand? Yeah. You can do something, because for me, I came from the foot of the mountain. You understand? Everything is possible. So, however much you have a degree, you have what? You will be keeping on looking for job. No jobs. But you can start with something small. Think what you can do. Everything you can do. You can start with something small. You have seen the way how for me I started. I think you saw the park, the small park, which I started with. Now check. Right now Uganda is proud of that park. But I thought that park was mine at the beginning. I thought, man, I've made this park. But the day when I realized it, that is the time when the community came together and said, from the community, that park is no longer for the community. At the beginning, it was mine. It jumped off from me. It went to the community. It jumped away from the community. It went for Nakawa. It jumped from Nakawa. So now it's for the whole Uganda.
Yes.
You understand?
Yeah.
But remember where I started from. Yeah. That's why I say, my fellow Ugandan, my fellow brothers and sisters, sit, think what you can do. It can expand at any time.
To be an engineer. When I joined my Form 5, my dad asked for a PCB math. Back then we used to do a long combination. And I changed the combination because I didn't want to do biology. I didn't want to do the biology. I wasn't interested in medicine. Yeah. But he talked to me. He didn't punish me. Later on, I changed back to the course, and then There I went to campus, went for a medical course, and I'm out here.
Okay.
Yes.
And doctor, before we get into our second part, which is the management of change and development within self, which is what I'm basically taking you through, either in a business or a similar organization and at the nation level.
Right.
You trained as a medical doctor, and we see you now transiting to another area which is very interesting that we have not seen many people in Uganda. That's managing change.
Okay.
What would you describe change management in your understanding as is to many of our viewers?
How would I describe change management?
Yes.
Well, I would initially say, I talk something about change. Change is something inevitable and irreversible. Once change comes, you have to move. It either changes you or you change with a change.
Yes.
For hygiene, because impression is key.
Yeah.
Remember, you're serving coffee. Coffee is so simple. If you, I don't know if you have some coffee cups here. I will show this. You can find a very small cup, and you have to do a pour over there.
Yeah.
So if you're dirty, you have to, you have to be so hygienic.
Yeah.
Where you work from, the way you present yourself,
yeah.
Are you attractive? You yourself, you're the first marketeer
of
your coffee.
Yeah.
Because people may come to the station and they maybe they have never taken coffee. Does that mean you will never sell your coffee? No. But if you present yourself well,
yeah.
you tell some people you look nice, you dress well, you smell well, like, well, they can even give you audience.
Yeah.
You talk to them about the coffee and the advantages.
Yeah.
Convince them, but you not convince somebody when you're stinking, you're
True.
looking shabby,
Yeah.
you know? Nobody can allow you brew their coffee
Yeah.
when you're ramshackled.
True.
Hygiene matters.
Yeah.
Your personal hygiene, the sanitation at your station,
Mm.
oh, it really matters.
Yeah.
A lot, a lot, a lot.
Yeah, and I think
there is no excuse for that.
It's a CEO bench, so usually people want to assume that all CEOs are over-learned and stuff like that. So I will change the script this time around. I consider myself a certified hustler.
If I'm looking to know who you are you Ugandan? If yes, what are the values that define you as Ugandan?
That's the easiest question, I think, to answer. I am a typical Lao man from Erute North, in a place called Ogur, and where I will be laid to rest is in a village called Agweng. So if you go there and you just say Otoa Tony, they won't really know me because my father is also Otoa Tony. You have to ask for Junior, and when you're asking, you have to ask with an accent. Junior Tikwene, where is Junior? And they will identify me. But I'm typically Ugandan, only Ugandan, from Lira. I pride myself from being from Lira. Earlier on, I was joking and saying I'm the coolest Lango south of Karuma. When you cross Karuma, there are so many. But when you're down the south after Karuma, I think I'm number one.
Wow. Well, now that you know Tony Otoa is Ugandan, and of course, what are the values that define you as a Ugandan?
I think it's the love for country, love for nation. You know, truth be told, the country is in a lot of, it's a crisis. Leadership crisis, economic crisis, social crisis. There's so many mismatching areas. But at the end of the day, it's home. You know, you cannot run and abandon your home because of the issues in your home. I think that then creates an opportunity for you to do something to change what's happening and what you see as a crisis. So in terms of what I see as a value, or what I take out of that for me, I think is just the love for country, the need to serve country the best way I can. And I mean, I can't say I can change everything, but the little I can do to create a difference, I think is more meaningful.
Wow. Mr. Tony Otoa, growing up, what did you want to be in life? And what was the journey like for Mr. Otoa?
Yeah, you know, my father is crazy. My father would call us and he would show me the compass. The idea was supposed to be a pilot. You know, the planes would fly over our house and my father would be like, yeah, you're going to be a pilot. Yeah. But of course, as you grow, you realize that you have so many things that really define you. I was never a sportsman. So I enjoyed a lot of debate and, you know, a lot of indoor activities. And that is, I think, what really drove me into some of the things that I do up to today. Public speaking, the love for debates and really a lot of intellectual discourse and all this stuff. But besides that, I think it's also the fact that I won't lie. I didn't know what I wanted to be.
COVID-19 has tested our hope and faith as individuals, families, and the country at large. Besides destroying many aspects of our lives, the novel coronavirus has also affected our human rights in many ways. You and the Law, the COVID edition, is a 30-minute weekly television program that focuses on the impact of COVID-19 on human rights in Uganda. The program engages experts to explain the importance of rights-based approaches to the success of any public health response to ensure the respect, protection, and fulfillment of human rights amidst the challenges presented by COVID-19. You and the Law, the television program, brought to you by Legal Hub Uganda, taking the law to the last mile in proud association with I4C Africa Hub and House of Talent Television.
So I would have expected that at least, you know, the president would have appointed immediately, probably the Minister of Health, to support the process because he has all the powers. Yeah. But you see, between that period until the Minister of Health was appointed, we were in a vacuum of there's no Minister of Health. So what COVID-19 law were we implementing? Because we can't implement the presidential directives.
Hello viewers, welcome to yet another episode of You and the Law, the COVID edition here on House of Talent Television. My name is Jonathan Ochom, your host. Today, we discuss yet another important area which has been affected by the rule of law. As you may be aware, in the previous editions, we talked about different rights that have been affected by the virus. We've talked about labor rights. We've talked about human rights broadly as a theme. We've talked about access to justice and all those other things. Today, we delve into another sensitive area which is important for our democracy as a country, and that's the issue of rule of law. What does rule of law mean? What does it mean for you and I on any given day? What do we need to do to protect rule of law? What challenges has COVID-19 posed on the rule of law in Uganda? These and many questions are going to be unpacked by my guest today, who is none other than Mr. Michael Aboneka. Michael is a social justice lawyer who works for Action Aid Uganda, where he coordinates the civic space and governance work. He's also a partner at Thomas & Michael, a general practice law firm in Kampala, and does many things himself. If you go online, you will read more about Michael and the stuff that he does. But for today, we're having Michael to tell us, more about, rule of law and how the intersection with COVID-19. Michael, you're very welcome to You and the Law.
Thank you, Jonathan. I'm glad to be here to discuss this very important subject.
Sure. How have you been?
I've been great. It's been a roller coaster of things. From COVID-20 to COVID-19 to COVID-2021. So I'm even not sure whether we should call this COVID-20 or 19 or 21. But we are carrying on.
Great. I mean, you work at Action Aid. I know that broadly you work around social justice issues.
Yes.
Perhaps we could start by slightly understanding what this animal social justice is and the work that you do around it.
Thank you. The thing about social justice is really about how everyone, regardless of their color, sex, age, are able to receive services from the state, and they're able to, their rights are respected, protected, and that everyone around them, be it a state, be it a non-state actor, they are protecting them and making sure that they are number one list on their list, that your neighbor doesn't go hungry.
that you are able to ensure that there is sanity, there is sanity in your neighborhood, that is still social justice, that you care for everyone. So we believe that social justice, if everyone catered for everyone the way they would want to be catered for, then this world and this country will be a better place.
I mean, that's quite a workload that you have.
Yes.
And well, I know you've read about Action Aid and your work in the media and a bit of challenges you had a couple of years back in the course of doing your work. So today we're discussing rule of law. People argue that rule of law is a core ingredient of a democracy, or rather for any democracy. It might be correct to say our democracy as well,
yes.
If any. But I thought I could pick your mind first on understanding this concept. When you talk about rule of law, what exactly are we talking about?
Yes, I want to say that, you see, rule of law is that golden thread in the fabric of governance, or fabric of society. So fabric is like a cloth,
yes.
And then you have that golden thread that is moving, across that fabric, and that is rule of law. Be it a clan, be it a home, where else? Family, down there at the butchery, wherever. There is some sense of order, and that order is brought by certain components. So rule of law simply, there are three words: the rule, and then the law, and then of course the conjunction is of. And if you play with that conjunction, things turn around.
Okay.
You've heard people say rule by law.
Yes.
That is totally opposite, with the rule of law. So rule of law, I want everyone to understand that it is not, an astronomical thing that only guys that got the maths need to understand. It is simply that we are all the same.
Okay.
We all adhere to the principles set, be it at your school, be it dormitory, there are dormitory heads, be it border associations, be it tax drivers associations. Even prisoners, they have that guy. Katikiro, depends, I think they used to call them chachi, whatever it is. There is a certain semblance of principles. Others call it rubric, whatever language you want to use. And then that everyone respects it. Everyone. So it is one thing to have laws, principles in place, and another for everyone to respect the same. Simple example, here in Kampala, how many people drive on road islands during traffic? I've even seen cars that belong to the red number plate.
Yes.
People are not patient. They want to actually drive on the road islands. But yet the law says the traffic rules are simple. Follow the lanes, drive on the left, keep your seatbelt on. But people never do that. So you see, the point is that once everyone adheres to principles, then everyone will be alive, and everyone will reach in time. So it's just about that. So adherence. The other important thing is about equality.
Yes.
I come from a social justice background.
Yes.
I am a social justice activist. Equality is very important. It is 2 years now, and the majority of Ugandan children have not gone back to school. But I'm told there are others who are studying.
Yes.
So then what makes those different from those one in Kabera Maido? That those in Kabera Maido, they have not even received even an area of the radio that that was promised. Okay?
Yes.
But we hear others are going to school, you hear people are Zooming, you hear all this. That breeds inequality.
Yes.
In 2 years' time, the country, Uganda, is going to have the same age mates, but who are different in terms of knowledge,
yes.
who are different in terms of understanding things and opportunities, and then we are going to have a crash. And then we shall not be able to live harmoniously, because now the inequality will be big. It also means accountability. The COVID funds. Let me make a very interesting observation. Spice Diana brought matoke, eggs, and all those things, the means of health, during that time of COVID to help. But so who ate that matoke? So I want to know, did the end of the patients eat? They brought a lot of flour, baking powder. Everyone was donating.
Cars.
But then you hear the patients are saying they're only giving us portion beans. The matoke and the eggs that were donated, where did they go? It comes as simple as that.
Yeah.
And because of that, I actually started a hashtag called Follow the Money Uganda.
Yes.
Follow the money UG. Let us follow the COVID money. The district tax forces received 150 million shillings. And then the MPs were told to return that money to the district tax forces.
Yes.
And then as they receive that, the Minister of Finance tells them, bring it back to the center.
Yeah.
But what did the 150 million do? That is rule of law. It's accountability. If anyone walked to any district leadership, will they be able to give them that? Recently, they are telling every Ugandan to go and vaccinate. In Wakiso, the health assistants didn't show up. The Ugandans lined up to get vaccinated, and the health officials didn't show up because their allowance had not been given to them.
Accountability.
Someone says, but we sent it. Accountability.
I mean, Michael, you sort of highlight 3 key pillars.
Yes.
One is
adherence to principles.
Yes. 2 is equality, and the third tenet is accountability.